welcome to the Yerky Boys. May the Kandrona shine and strengthen you. My name is Will.
My name is Jonathan.
And we are
the Yerky Boys.
Today we're going to be talking about Book 30, The Reunion.
Which was released in May of 1999.
Wow.
The same month as last week's book. According to Seropedia.
Really? There wasn't like a pause for the Megamorphs?
2 books, 1 month. That's what they tell me.
All right. I guess when she's now that she's got her ghostwriters, she can do it.
They don't care. They're not worried about eating up shelf space or fighting with themselves for book sales. They're pumping them out like nobody's business.
That was my favorite old internet shock video. 2 books, 1 month.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine was the Unknown Soldier one. Is that where they beheaded a guy?
I'm not sure exactly which one you're talking about. I think there were a lot that were called something like that.
Yeah. I didn't actually watch that one.
Yeah, I don't, those ones aren't as fun.
Boy, I tell you what's shocking What's shocking is how much fun this Animorphs podcast is and how great it is to be a listener of this free Animorphs podcast. I can't believe how much content we're giving away.
Yeah, you're right.
And yet, there's still more. And that brings us to this week's edition of everyone's favorite recurring segment, The Sharing.
The Sharing.
Got you trained like a dog.
Yeah, I'm still not quite sure what melody I'm supposed to be doing when I do that, and I feel like I'm almost doing the NBC thing.
No, that would be The Sharing.
Yeah, I feel like I'm getting too close to that.
Yeah, well, I will rein you in if you start fucking it up.
Okay, thank you.
So
share with me, please.
All right, we've got some sharing to do here. Thought we'd get away 1 week without having to read some bullshit somebody fucking sent to us, but nope. We got one. I love it when people email us at theyerkyboys@gmail.com as we are legally bound to read it at the start of the episode before getting into our book, which will happen shortly. So would you just sit tight for a minute?
Somebody's in kind of a grumpy mood.
Oh.
Read the sharing. I want to know the sharing.
Oh, okay. This week's sharing, we have an email that came into us from, let's see here. Looks like Steven wrote into us this week.
Mm-hmm.
The Yerky Boys is kind of like Pee-wee's Playhouse, you know? You check in and, you get your fun side characters. Sometimes you talk to Cherry, Globy. That's kind of what Steven is like, one of those guys.
Yeah. Nick No Name, Spam Viking, Efflume.
Is that all of them?
Have we had any others that repeated?
If we did, we clearly don't fucking like you. So fuck off. All right.
We love all of you.
Subject of this email, there's a couple of things in it, but the subject of it is Patreon book recommendation. Steven says, "Hi guys. I have a recommendation for a book you could read for the Context of Strength segment for your Patreon." I'm just going to pause here for a minute to point out that Context of Strength is a title that was invented 1 week ago by Efflume, who wrote into the show and pitched this concept to us.
I did not remember it was called that.
We have not done this segment, nor have we committed to saying we will do it. But Stephen comes in as it references it like it's, of course, Context of Strength. We all know that.
Everybody knows what that is.
Yeah. This was the pitch here was that we would read the book from the middle of a series without knowing what it was about.
Sure.
And we did ask, I guess, for recommendations if we were going to go through with this. And Steven suggests, he says, admittedly, this is the last book of a trilogy, not the middle one, but I think it could still work. Island Book 3, Escape by Gordon Corman. It's a series I read in 5th grade, and I think the book is about the same length as an Animorphs book. I've wanted to recommend this book for a few episodes now, but couldn't really justify asking you guys to read a whole trilogy, when the only reason I would be asking is for something that happens in the 3rd book. I won't spoil what the reason is, but maybe you can spot it when you read it. Keep up the good work. So,
I would like to point out that this is the same asshole who introduced us to the sci-fi classic Grass. So if you're wondering what the fuck is going on here, that's what's going on here.
This is a person with, how shall we say, esoteric reading tastes. And I guess I guess we will consider Island Book 3 Escape by Gordon Corman for the future docket. Consider.
Yeah. Throw that in the old spreadsheet.
And we'll also take this opportunity to tell Stephen and the rest of our non-Patreon subscribed listeners that this week on the Patreon, we are going to be discussing the classic sci-fi novel, Grass.
Yeah, can I just point out, like, we have insider information here, and I know for a fact that Stephen is not a Patreon subscriber. Okay, and yet we're reading a book that he turned us on to, and he's making suggestions for it. Where the fuck do you get off?
Yeah, well,
if it's $5 a month.
If he wants to hear our thoughts about Grass, his beloved Grass, or Island Book 3, put your money where your fucking mouth is, pal. Patreon.com/theyerkyboys. Maybe, did I love Grass? Did I hate it? You're not going to know unless you click subscribe.
Okay? That's a good pitch. Yeah, you did good.
So do you notice how at the end of that email he said, keep up the good work? It sort of seems like that's the end of the email, right?
It does sure seem like that's the end of the email.
Well, there's a postscript that is longer than the body of the email.
Yeah, I was going to comment. That is, the shortest email we've ever gotten.
Don't worry.
Okay, good. I was worried.
The next part of the email is actually relevant to Animorphs, so if everybody skipped ahead because they didn't want to hear about our fucking Patreon again, well, you missed out. He adds, P.S. I think you guys were not doing your best with your literary analysis when you talked about Cassie's reaction to racism. He is referring to our discussion last week of Megamorphs Book 3. You said that her reaction seems out of character, but the books goes out of its way to explain that. He then quotes a passage from the book, which I will summarize and paraphrase here. Basically, Cassie says that she would have let this go normally. She's run into racism before, but she is going through a lot. She's been time traveling in multiple wars. Jake is dead. Rachel might be dead. So she's in an upset state at this time. Okay. Stephen continues. You also talked about how it seemed more like something Rachel would do, which the book again agrees with you about. Again, he quotes another passage. Whoa, Cassie, that is so Rachel, Marco says. Okay. Stephen concludes. Now, even when an in-text justification is offered, that doesn't mean it actually lands. If you still think it's bad writing, even with this added context, then I respect that. But leveling very specific criticisms at a work without pointing out that the work itself goes out of its way to address those criticisms is just big cinema sins energy.
Excuse you? Excuse you? Trying to rile me up here.
Stephen,
finish his email.
That's the end.
Okay. I mean, listen. First of all, I don't know how much of does this fall under the blanket of a literary analysis? I guess it does. Sure.
This podcast, you mean?
No, I mean that specific. So I was aware of that phrase that or that part where Cassie says like, "Oh, this isn't something I would normally do," and I kind of just chose not to bring it up. I think it was in the notes, but I think I chose not to bother saying it. Um, but I would be far more on board with that if Cassie ever encountered racism in the books in any meaningful way before this. Like, it
Mm.
feels like racism is always the thing where they're just like, she will offhandedly say, sometimes there's racism and I've had to deal with it. Doesn't actually come up. Then the first time it does, it's like, okay, here's my opportunity as a writer to do this. I better have a sentence in here to pay lip service to how Cassie doesn't. This is not the sort of thing she would normally do. But I mean, why am I taking that all that seriously? I'm looking at what's happening and not what Cassie says she always does. As for the Marco line, that's so Rachel. I think I just kind of was like, yeah, Marco just made a snarky comment. I
Rachel
guess you could call
also
that lampshading.
says, Rachel says, "What are you doing? Stealing my act?"
Mm. I
So,
mean, yeah, sure, I guess.
I think that what you said rings true to me. I think you answered pretty well. I
Thank
will
you.
only add to Steven, first of all, how dare you?
Mm-hmm.
Go fuck yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Cinema sins? Where the fuck? Who the fuck do you think you are? Get, get
You
the.
can expect if you write into our. This is the kind of treatment you can expect when you email us.
I've never been more offended in my life. Okay? If that's what you were going for, you succeeded. The other thing I will just add a little bit in my defense is that normally I like to read these books 2 or 3 days, maybe even one day in advance of recording, so that they're fresh in my mind. And in this instance, it had actually been a couple of weeks since I really read the book. So if some passages like this slipped my mind and I didn't call them out in a way that I should have, that's why.
That's fair.
No, is that fair?
I
I'd
think
say
that's fair.
I'd say that's pretty fair. I think
Yeah, I would.
I
I would
think
say that's fair.
even Steven would agree that that's fair. Is it
Yeah, I think you would.
balanced? I don't know, but
It
it's
is
fair.
because we both agree, so it's balanced.
Mm, all right. Thanks, Steven, for sharing that with us. If you'd like to email
Don't
and
thank him.
be ridiculed and insulted, you can, with all your comments and questions, theyerkyboys@gmail.com. And hey, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/theyerkyboys. Okay, now we can get to the book.
Yeah, and by get to the book, you mean we have to talk about things before we can get to the book, but they'll be relevant to this book now.
Yeah, well, that's all going to be parts of the book.
Yeah, in some
Don't you
sense.
think?
Yeah.
Right.
Let's start off here. This book was ghost written by an Elise Donner, who
Elise Donner Dodd.
yeah,
I don't know
uh,
why I did it.
she she is the ghostwriter
Oh, no, hold
for
on. Let me
yeah
do another one.
yeah. Do another one. Do another one.
I am not gonna go to any of her parties.
That's pretty good.
Okay,
Yeah.
go
In
on.
addition to this book, she also did books 37 and 46. So she is invited back 2 more times, but no consistency with characters. Um, I don't know. I'm not really seeing much in the way of like trends for that. Some people have characters,
Mm.
some people don't. I don't know. Uh, Now, I will say when I looked up Elise Donner, this is the name of the lady who wrote the Vampire Diaries. Is this
Hmm.
the same lady? I don't know.
Did she write the Vampire Diaries? I thought I saw. What did I see?
Go check again,
Because
because.
I had trouble finding much about her.
Mhm.
I thought there was something about that she was an. Maybe she was an. There was someone with the same name who was an editor for something. Maybe. Well, the problem
Hmm.
is the problem is first of all, there's some Hallmark movie
Yes.
that's with a character with that same name. So those are most of the results. I see Lisa Jane Smith is an American author of
Oh,
adult fiction, best known, but it's somewhere in here. It said that Elise Donner
oh, I see. Wait.
was involved. The series was commissioned by Elise Donner, who was an
Okay.
editor of Alloy Entertainment in 1990.
Okay, so that's probably not the same person then.
I don't know. I could see. I don't know what the hell Alloy Entertainment. It's a book company, I guess, but it does seem like a lot of these ghostwriters. It seems like some of them maybe are just editors or people who are kind of not they're just kind of writing a lot of shit, and it's just somebody has an open schedule and they know somebody and they ask them, hey, you want to write an Animorph? And they do it.
Yeah, I do think that's probably true. But yeah, I could not find anything about this ghost author. Like I said, I saw that link and I think I got confused. But yeah, when I was trying to find like specifically what she did, it was like, okay, there's these Animorphs books, and then there's some other Elise Donners out there, and then I can't necessarily tell if they're the same people or not. It's not clear to me.
Yeah, could be this person, could just be another pseudonym. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe book 37. I'll go back and check again.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. We'll probably have this exact conversation again. I've forgotten that it happened.
Yeah, I'm curious what we're gonna do when we start repeating. I think we already have repeated. I don't know. Well, I mean, other than just like trying to compare the two books, maybe that's all we'll do. Fuck it. I don't know.
Yeah, well said.
We're not doing that much here.
No, very little. Some more than others.
So,
What?
some of us. Anyway, the
What's that?
the cover here, Marco turning into a cockroach.
Ah, the cover. Yes,
Yeah, we're fine.
yes.
That's what we're on.
Ah, yes. Crack it open, swirl it around, sniff it like a fine wine.
Well, the cover's on the outside. We'll crack it open for the inner cover.
I'm cracking open the Seropedia thumbnail to click and look at.
Okay. So we've got. Do you want to?
No, this is your job.
Okay.
You do this part.
Is it? So
You set it
Marco
up.
here turned into a cockroach. This is another one. I feel like we've had a couple of these, but they're not the more common. Where he's kind of like starting to pose like the animal before he turns into it, right? Like he's hunched over.
Yeah.
He's actually
yeah.
kind of gorilla-ish.
That may just be your own bias
Hmm.
because he's a gorilla.
Well, yeah. I don't know if that's my bias.
Yeah, he's doing his thing. He's got his tucked in purple shirt. He gets tiny little feet. I like his tiny little shoes down at the bottom.
Oh yeah, those are good.
I have to say though, overall, I mean we've had a string of pretty good covers this season so far. This is not one of the more memorable ones to me. It's a morph that they have done several times already. We've seen bugs on the covers before. It's not there's none of these are to me are like that funny. I guess the third one kind of looks like a James and the Giant Peach.
Yeah,
bug.
He's got fun eyes and middle face. I think I would agree with you on that point. Now, one of our regulars, and I'm trying to remember who it was. It all gets mixed up in my mind. Had mentioned a bunch of boring book covers going forward that
they know who they are. The flop era.
Yeah. Now this was on that. So one of the questions we're going to have to ask is this book one of the secret bangers, or is this book it's the boring cover book, it's the flop era? We're going to have as we go through it.
It must be one of the two.
It must be. What else could it be?
The quote here is Marco must make the ultimate sacrifice. So this is another quote that's actually relevant to the content of the book.
Yes. Now, interestingly, I also have PDFs of the books. On the PDF that I have, it has a different quote on the cover picture, which is strange because that's not on Seropedia anywhere, and I don't know why it's like that. Like my physical copy, of course, says that, but the PDF I have says "make a change for the better."
That's
I
so
don't know.
weird.
Yeah, it's really weird. I'm wondering because Seropedia does mention that there was a Scholastic School Market edition of this book that didn't like have the raised text, didn't have the inner cover, and was like half the thickness of a regular book. And I'm wondering if
Hmm.
maybe that's the scan for the PDF that I have. I don't know.
I'm looking through some of the variant covers that they have scans of on here. There is one. Den es ist nie suspect. You know what that means?
Because it's never too late if you pronounced it correctly. That's what it would mean.
Is that what it means? It's never too late?
That's the es ist nie zu spät. Yeah.
I guess in Germany, Marco is like a more hostile, aggressive character because the title of that book in German is Die, Rachel. Seems inappropriate for his character.
Die Rachel?
Well, he is his nickname. It's Die Rach.
Ah, okay. Okay. Yeah, makes sense. I couldn't figure out. That's pretty good.
It's also that version has a logo from Ravensburger, who is a pretty well known board game publisher. That's interesting. They do books too overseas. I don't know.
Sure.
Anyway, I can't
I'll
find
put
that
you
quote
on that.
you're talking about.
Yeah,
on
no, that's what I
Wikipedia.
was wondering because I didn't see it anywhere. But it's like in the image, so it's not like somebody fucked up the text. So if anybody knows anything about why it's like that, let me know.
If
But
anyone at Seropedia was worth their fucking salt, they'd have this shit on there somewhere.
yeah, I'd be able to tell.
Jesus Christ, you have one job. Can't do anything. Inside cover?
So just before we get to that, we have our new Watch Animorphs on TV logo starting to appear on this book. Right?
Wow.
We had a couple books with no Watch Animorphs on TV. And on the sickness, there was a big sticker on mine. It wasn't actually part of the cover. Here, it's printed on the cover. Watch Animorphs on TV. No time, no channel. Just do it.
Just on TV.
On TV, that's what it says.
That's
And
where it is.
I think the TV show only lasted a couple more months after this book, although that logo will be on the rest of the books.
Sure.
So, on TV, if you see it on TV, go watch it.
Go watch it on TV.
Inside cover. Our quote here is
Oh.
A Bug's Life.
Jesus, I just noticed this woman like a specter. Sorry, go ahead. The quote. What's the quote? Is that it?
Yeah, A Bug's Life, ... Now, we do have a 3-dot alert here.
You can't. Okay, 3-dot alert noted, but you can't ... a. It's not even a thought. It's a fragment. What about A Bug's Life? What, you could say like it's a bug's life for me or something, or it's a hard knock bug's life. You can't just say A Bug's Life ... that's the ... of the person who didn't finish writing that quote.
You're right. That's why it's a 3-dotter.
Yeah, because it's not official. They sent that to the editor, and they thought, I guess that must be it. It doesn't seem much worse than usual. A Bug's Life. I guess this would have been probably, a year or two after A Bug's Life came out in the theaters.
Yeah, I was hoping you would maybe know that date so that we could figure out.
Toy Story has got to be 95 or 96. And Bug's Life, I think, was the next movie, like 90s.
Guess so.
Yeah, Toy Story was... Lion King's 94. I'm pretty sure Toy Story was... I mean, there's no way to know.
Yeah, I'm not going to look.
All right. Bug's Life was 98. I checked.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway.
I feel you. It's not very good.
Yeah. Remember when I talked about A Bug's Life one episode?
No, I don't.
I brought it up because I rewatched
usually
it.
Don't listen to you.
And I was talking about the ants. How they made me think of the Animorphs.
Interesting.
This was the listeners will remember.
Okay, next time they turn into ants, you can tell the story again.
It wasn't really a story. It was just how I watched it, and then I thought of that.
Okay, so you've told it twice now again.
Yeah, this is the second time. What is
right now.
Okay, so the inner cover here.
Yeah, inner cover.
cockroach on the corner of a dresser or nightstand or something.
Mm-hmm.
We see a woman in the mirror who I'm presuming we will discover, mild spoilers, is Marco's mom. Right?
Okay, so to
No?
be honest,
Who the hell else would it be?
no. You're right, but to be honest, I kind of just didn't even notice that. Like, I never really realized that was there. When you said there was like a woman specter jumping out, I was like, "What are you talking about?" And I looked at it again.
It is subtle, and it does seem like a ghost apparating in the mirror. Apparating?
Sure.
No, because it's an apparition. So is that
Yeah.
what they do?
Why not?
There's a glass on the counter that's empty with some ice cubes in it. So she was drinking something. And there's a bunch of there's a keychain with a miniature globe on it with some keys and some coins that look. Some of those look like foreign coins to me. Am I wrong? There's one that looks like it has a hole in
Yeah.
the middle, like a yen or like some Canadian shit. I don't know what's going on there.
Unless it's maybe like a subway token. I don't
Maybe.
know. It's weird. I will say the appearance of the woman in the window does answer a question for me because I was looking at this like they
That's a
go
window?
cockroach. Oh, a mirror. You're right. I don't.
I don't. It
My
could be. I
brain.
don't know. Maybe. No, it's a mirror. It's a mirror.
It's a mirror. It's a mirror. No, because I was looking at this like I can think of 2 times to go cockroach in this book, and this doesn't look like either of those times. Um, so I was confused. But now I guess I know when this must take place in the book. I guess it's okay.
Oh, that I just remembered. Why didn't I write that down? I fucked. I really fucked up.
Hmm.
Remember Remember the last book last week? Megamorphs 3: Elfangor's Secret.
Right.
Well, it would have been funny last week. I was gonna say, Simpsons quote. I can think of at least 2 things that are wrong with that title.
Oh yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
This title I don't think you can. You know, sometimes
No.
Animorphs titles they don't work. This one I think.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it could have been the title of other books.
Yeah, that's true.
And could be the title of future books, I presume. But it's fine. It works.
Yeah.
This podcast every week is sort of like a reunion for us.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. All right. I think we were ready to talk about this book. Number 30. That's a nice round number. Number 30 books in. How about that? That's a lot of books.
How about that?
How
That is a lot of
about
books.
that? 30
All right.
books.
So okay. So let's start talking about
Okay.
this book. All right. So Marco, he's dreaming. He's dreaming
Present.
about his mom. And in the dream,
I've been dreaming about his mom too lately. Go
ahead. So in the dream, she's drowning. Which, as we recall, she was. He originally thought she drowned, and then in book 15, maybe she drowned, but maybe she lived. So in his dream, she's drowning, and he's trying to save her, but he fails. And after this dream, he wakes up, and instead of going to school, he decides to play hooky and go downtown instead. So he's walking around the middle of the city, and this woman in a hurry knocks him over. And he gets mad, so he starts following her because he wants to like trip her or something. And he discovers that the woman is his mom in a wig. She's still alive and she's here in town on Earth. So he follows her. He follows her into Sutherland Tower. He gets past the security guards by putting a man named Mr. Grant into an acquiring trance and saying, "Oh, it's fathers take their sons to work day." It's the exact name he uses. He then morphs fly in a crowded elevator right behind Visser 1 and somehow isn't noticed, and follows her to find what room she's in. So he has, so his mom is here in town. He's found where she is staying. And there's also a short series of shenanigans in the air ducts with him, after which he has to like morph Mr. Grant in an empty office to keep his cover, and then he like runs into the real one and steals his clothes, and yeah, when he gets out.
Kind
So
of
a
a
bunch,
lot
yeah,
happens. Yeah, this is
yeah, like it felt like you could break it. Yeah, yeah, what you were saying.
it's a big opening scene. We used to have the opening scene would be something kind of silly and fun, a little side adventure. And now it's Marco's depressed and sullen and walking alone, and then we get into some real heavy plot stuff. So
hmm Yeah, I feel
it's
like we've been getting these like very on topic openings a lot more. Although, go back to just one main series book and it's like, okay, well they were at a dance. At least that was something, even though the dance turned into a thing. But yeah, as you were saying, there's a lot that happens here. The first like third to half of this book, I would say, is kind of like that, where it's like there's a lot of like very very short set pieces and very very short like this happens, this happens, this happens, and it's not always clear to me where exactly we should be breaking to talk about it.
well, we're professionals, so I'm sure we'll get through it and everyone will agree with our choices.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something. If you were to describe your mother to someone, would you use the terms beautiful or pretty smelling?
uh no.
Yeah.
Now
Marco, methinks Freud might have a field day with little Marco.
he might I'm might have used some slightly creepy terms for a while because like my mom kind of didn't age for very many years, like up until she was around
What?
55ish she looked
What are you
30.
doing? What are you? No,
I'm
stop.
letting you know.
We
I'm
didn't.
letting you know.
We were on. You didn't have to say this. We're on to Marco. You could have
I'm
just.
just letting you know because you asked me a question. I'm answering honestly.
Oh my god.
Now you want this to be even more awkward if you couple this with the fact that like
Jesus.
I looked 25 when I was 15. The number of times people have mistaken us for a couple is like at least a dozen over the course of my life.
You understand that this is designed for
Yeah,
public consumption,
yeah,
right?
and people are gonna hear it. Yeah, you're right. I understand.
Okay. Okay. As long as you understand that. Anyway, awkward. Don't know how to move
I'm
on
just
from that
listen. You
one.
asked a question. You asked a question,
Awkward.
but no, I would not use the phrase "pretty smelling."
All right. Not the last time there's going to be some of that in this book, in my opinion. Marco also has a picture of his mommy on his bedside table.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a point made about that him taking turns to use the shower with his dad. Right?
Yeah, sure.
I thought that his dad is rich now and they bought a nice new house because he got a promotion. What?
I guess
They
it
don't
only
have.
has one shower. I don't know. Like that's a nice house doesn't. It's probably got multiple bathrooms, but multiple showers. Like you have to have a pretty nice house to have multiple baths. And like for Marco, who is coming out of a slummy apartment, like I'm assuming nice house means like
It's
average
the
suburban house.
90s. The housing market is booming.
Yeah, but like that's not
He's like what he
a
works for the
single dad just
NSA
decided to
or
go buy
something.
a two bath house. That's you don't need a two bath house even when there's like four or five people living in the family a lot of the time.
It
I've
seems
never in
stingy.
my life lived in a two bath house.
Sorry for your I'm sorry that you're such a poor piece of shit.
I think that makes me average.
I don't think it makes you average.
I think it does.
I think at least
No.
okay,
I think that you don't actually have any idea.
I do have an idea. I would venture to guess, and listeners can write in. We'll take a poll. How many people? I feel like No, look, in this case, it's a one child, one parent household. Okay, it's a little understandable, but I think in an average nuclear home, if there's two parents and there's at least two kids, it's likely you have a separate bath for the kids and one for the parents. That's what I
I guess
think.
I guess that does happen relatively often. I guess
Yeah,
that's
because your
probably
kids, you bathe your kid in the bathtub. You're not like bringing them in. You usually have like a some kind of a bath. I'm not saying everybody check my privilege and shit, but I don't know. It seems like his I thought they talked about it like his dad was like in a was like moving up in the world. So to
yeah. I mean,
me,
he
that's like
is
number
moving up in the
1.
world, but like also like he's moving up in the world from a position of like he was on they were like fucked financially.
Mm, I
I don't know.
guess. I
I
guess.
either way,
And
it's probably
again,
just
in the
not necessary. There's
90s,
two. He's a single dad with one kid.
he's a single dad who's got one kid. Okay.
I don't know where that came from.
I think that's like a TikTok thing, maybe. I don't know.
Explain why I'm out of the loop here.
We'll get Tim Zoomer on to explain that one to you another time.
Okay.
Now, all right. What else? What else about? Okay, yes, Marco
I mean,
downtown.
if you're willing to get into downtown, we gotta talk about this Sutherland Tower.
I feel like that has come up before. Have they mentioned this? This is the
I don't
first
think
time?
they have.
I'm just used to the TGS tower.
Yeah, the EGS Tower. This is what I was gonna say. Is they say the Sutherland Tower is the downtown area's tallest building. Maybe it has come up before because I feel like I've had this complaint before. I don't know. I'm old. My memory is going.
What's your complaint?
Why? Where is the EGS tower? Why is this the tallest building now? What happened to the EGS tower? I
Did
guess
they
it's
not-
not in the downtown area. Where is it then?
Didn't they like blow it up or something or no?
No, they knocked something out of the like top story window.
They didn't 9/11 that tower.
No, there have been no 9/11s in Animorphs.
Rachel didn't
Yet.
morph into a plane and crash into it.
She would do that.
Wouldn't you? As soon as, like, in a few years when AI is better, first thing I'm typing in to make a movie of Rachel from Animorphs morphing into a plane and doing a 9/11.
Go on Bing image generator and we'll.
Yeah, but I want it to be like a movie. I want it to look real.
Okay. I see.
Yeah. The Sutherland Tower. Yes, I mean it's a good question. Clearly, we just don't care about the other tower anymore. We have Sutherland Tower. Yeah, this could have been EGS Tower, but what even was that tower? Like, what was the purpose of it when it wasn't being used for nefarious Yerk things?
Yeah, I have no idea. This one seems to be an office building of sorts.
Yeah, which makes sense, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Towers, that's got floors in them. You can do that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And Marco gets, as you said, he gets whacked by a briefcase.
Mm-hmm.
And he immediately is just casually ready to go get revenge on who he believes to be a complete stranger.
Yeah. Well, he's probably just gonna trip her, right? She knocked him over. He's gonna trip her. He's in a bad mood. He
That's
dreamed
still
about his
quite
mom dying.
petty.
It is quite petty. I'll give you that. Listen, I'm too much of a coward to do something like that, but I understand the sentiment.
But it was accidental, you know?
Yeah. But if you're in a bad mood,
it's fine. I was wondering, they don't really, I don't think this is the case and they don't seem to delve into it ever again. But when we find out it's Marco's mom, I was thinking, what if that was maybe Marco's mom inside of Yerk Brain was like fighting to take control. And that's why her arm jerked out and hit him or something. I don't know. I don't know. That would be kind of cool, but I don't think that's what happened.
Could be, and there's I might get into that a little bit at a later point. But yeah, it does seem like at this point that they're just not aware of Marco's presence in any way.
Pure coincidence. This whole thing is complete coincidence. Eric the Chi didn't say, "Hey, I found Visser 1." If Marco had turned down a different street or gone here 2 minutes later or 2 minutes earlier, this book doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's correct.
It's
This
pretty
doesn't
stupid.
this doesn't even feel, because normally when you say something like that, you can be like, ah, maybe the giant sky wizard that the series made did it, but this doesn't even feel like that. Like, this isn't his style. He does stupider, more obnoxious shit than that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So then he morphs Mr. Grant, and you can tell Kay Applegate didn't write this book because his name is Mr. Grant and not
Well,
Mr. Granat or something.
I was actually going to say no. This name sort of came from K. Applegate, but there's a reason why it's
Oh,
not
Michael
stupid as
Grant?
fuck. Yeah, because this is very clearly her husband, Michael Grant. That's where the
Okay.
name comes from. Now, I don't know. Maybe the ghostwriter just decided to name it after him because she thought it was funny, or because he was cheating on her. But like,
One
it's
of the
also
two.
possible that she just fed the ghostwriter the name. But yes, that is why this name is normal and reasonable, and it almost feels a little out of place how normal and reasonable it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's always just strange when they feature a background character like this. I don't know.
Mhm.
It never feels quite natural to me. Mr. Grant seems kind of gross too.
Yeah, well, he's just old and fat. I think we
Yeah.
can relate to that a little, maybe.
Not me.
Okay.
Yeah, not really for either of those, but maybe
Yeah.
I could see where maybe you could.
Now, this is speaking of that. Is this the first time we've ever like had a description of a human turning into another human? Like, we've had aliens turning into humans. We've had humans turning into humans, like, kind of off screen, and we don't really describe it. But a lot of times when they morph new animals, we get these long passages that are like, and then my extra legs sprouted out, and this happened, and blah. Here we get like this long explanation of like how he gets a bunch of extra belly and butt fat, and his hair falls out or whatever. And
Yeah.
like, have we done that with human to human before? I can't. We might have once, maybe, but I cannot recall.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, when have they turned into a human? Seropedia, why aren't you helping us out here? Um I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I swear
don't
there was at
know.
least one other instance of an Animorph doing it, but all I can come up with is David and aliens.
Seropedia says the first time Marco acquires a human morph, if one counts Axe and his acquiring of Jake, Rachel, Cassie, and
I
Marco's DNA as separate acquisitions, this marks the 11th time an Animorph has acquired a human morph. Okay, now hold on. Now we have to do math. So if one counts, so Axe and is acquiring of 5 other people, so that's no, I would count that as just one. So this is actually the 6th time there's been a human morph acquired, according to
Yeah,
Seropedia.
and two of them are David, because David
Oh,
did.
are they counting him? I
I don't
guess.
know. Maybe they're
I guess he
counting
was an Animorph.
5 times for Axe.
So then, yeah, what are the other 2 or 3? I don't know, but yeah.
Can't think of
Uh,
it.
did they turn into somebody when they were doing the hologram president meeting or something, or no?
Maybe they did.
I don't know, but yeah,
Visser Three did.
this is
Listen,
probably
this
the
is
most
riveting.
detailed one. No, people, this is what these fucking freaks love. They're all fucking jerking off listening to this shit. Yeah. Yeah, how many times? Yeah. They love this
Well, that's the
shit.
problem. We don't even know.
I know. They know. We know what matters most.
Speaking of jerking off,
Yeah.
so there's a part in here where some lady in the office walks in on, quote unquote, Mr. Grant, with Marco. Basically, he's got to morph Mr. Grant to keep his cover. So she walks in the office, all the lights are off. He's like crouched over behind some other guy's desk. And she's like, is that you, Mr. Grant? And he's like, yep, I'm fine, don't come in. And she's like, are you sure? And he's like, yep, could you go get me a coffee, please? Yep. Like, from her perspective, he's jerking off, right?
Well, no,
like, what
maybe
else is happening here?
there could be a lady there. This could be an office romance.
That I guess. I mean, he's behind Carlos's desk. It says so. Maybe it's a guy.
Yeah.
We don't
Well,
discriminate.
I I don't. Mr. Grant doesn't strike me as being into that.
Okay. What,
Because
Latinos?
Yeah, well, I think Marco would have morphed and been like, "Whoa!" All of a sudden, I think Leonardo DiCaprio is so pretty.
It does seem like Marco's the type to say that.
Yeah, it would have been the first thing out of his mouth. Notice they didn't mention what it was like to have Mr. Grant's dick. Didn't come up. Wonder why.
Had some ideas on how to respond to that and decided that better of it.
For the best. I do get some mixed messages from Marco here when he's initially his quote is that their DNA was mine, and I was excited because I was going, Cassie's not around to ruin the party.
Yeah.
Marco's on his own. It's human morph time, baby. We're breaking all the rules. And then he goes, I had no intention of actually morphing this man. And I'm like, yeah, you did. Who are you fucking trying to kid? You said his DNA is yours. What are you going to do with it? You wanted to morph him.
You're right. There are a couple points in this book where I'm not 100% sure that Marco is being a reliable narrator about his own motivations.
I do like that this does never get resolved. He never comes up. He never tells the rest of the group this
Yeah.
himself. He
Yeah,
just
he
keeps it to
specifically leaves
himself.
this out.
Cassie
Yeah, I mean,
doesn't
this is
find
what
out.
all the books, if it weren't for Cassie, this is what all the books could be like. You could get a lot of
Yes.
Mr. Grants
Fun.
walking around. Yeah.
Fun. He does take a lot of unnecessary risks in this scene.
Yeah. The scene where he morphs Fly in the elevator is one of the more unbelievable things that's happened in Animorphs, and that's a little, like...
I almost thought, because he has a description of everyone in the elevator staring straight ahead.
Yeah.
Almost as if I thought they were going to reveal that they were under hypnosis or something, and that was going to be the justification for it.
Yeah, it feels like it's more just like when you're in the elevator, you just kind of stand there and don't look at the other people, and,
Just social norms.
it's a social norm, so
But
nobody
then
looks
somebody
over in
looks.
the corner. Yeah, somebody does look and, like, kind of screams, but by the time anybody else looks, it's too late, and they're all just like, I don't know what her problem was. Which, that is kind of believable. If some lady, like, screamed at nothing in an elevator, I'm, like, first thought's gonna be like, oh shit, what's that? And then when I realize it's nothing, I'm gonna be like, oh, she's crazy, alright, I'm not dealing with that. But,
Yeah.
like, I don't... I can't imagine being in an elevator and not being aware of everything else going out around in there.
Yeah.
Like even though you're not looking directly at people, you're aware of what they're doing, because if they're looking at you, you notice that immediately. You want to make sure that you're not standing with the weirdo.
Right. You don't walk straight into an elevator and just stare at the back wall.
Right. No, I don't do that. Even
Don't
I
you?
don't do that.
That was a little. They talk about that on Mind Hunter. Okay, we can go to the next scene.
Okay. Now that we've talked about Mind Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's just do a little bit here. There's Marco comes back to school in the middle of the day. He calls a meeting in the barn. There's like a little run-in with Chapman. So getting everybody together in the barn, they kind of figure out that, okay, so Visser One's here on Earth, and she seems like she's here undercover, right? Because in book 15, Visser Three saw them spare her. So the Yeerks probably think that she's like a traitor, and so she's probably here undercover to try to take Visser Three down. Jake sends Tobias and Axe to go scout her room that night in Sutherland Tower, and Marco talks his way into going as well. Jake lets him do it, but says Tobias is in charge and gives Tobias the authority to make all the calls. Don't have a lot to say so far. Did you want to talk about anything that happens in the school or the barn?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I got a few things. Well, kind of a recurring subject for us is trying to figure out exactly how to place this series in time in any given book, as well as how old these kids are. And they do reference, he says, our school has no guards or metal detectors like they have in the high schools. So we can assume they're still not in high school yet, according to this book.
So they are still in the middle school. So
gotta assume 8th grade.
I guess 8th grade, yeah.
Gotta be.
Unless this is a weird. Yeah, no, it's got to be right.
I don't know. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
I did have to kind of refresh my memory a little here because I forgot the whole business with Marco's pretending to be a controller and his mom thinking that he's a controller now. So I was a little confused, but I got caught up and I remembered after a minute. But I gotta think people reading this book at the time, it was like 7 months later instead of me, which was like 3. It's probably harder. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, that maybe people were confused, but not as confused as I was about the other part of this section, which made me think of what was the other book? Was it the Howlers book? Where there was some book where they just oh no, it wasn't an Animorphs book. It was on the Patreon when we talked about the movie The Faculty. So if non-Patreon subscribers, you'll have to just go listen to that to get the context here. But this a whole section when they go, oh, it seems like Visser 3 is a traitor, or Visser 1 is a traitor, and Visser 3 is going after her, and just they make so many assumptions, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
that all turn out to be 100% correct.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting here like, wait a minute, how do you, like, they just saw, Marco says, I saw my mom, and they immediately go, she's wearing a wig. She must be considered a traitor now. And Visser 3 is trying to go after her, and all these little dots connecting that I'm going, how are you? Everyone is just like, makes sense to me.
Yeah. No, I feel you, because, like, it does make sense, but, like, there's a difference between that explanation makes sense and that explanation is the, like, probable definite one. You can come up with
Yeah.
10 explanations that make sense.
Because I was, in my head, I'm thinking of Visser. She's Visser number fucking 1.
Mhm.
So her being framed as a traitor, and they justify it in the book, I think, we'll get
Mhm.
to. But to me, that seemed like a big leap of logic, because if anything, I would think it's the other way around, because she outranks him. Why would him saying something against her carry weight when she is a bigger fish on the food chain, or whatever metaphor I want to mix there? It
Yeah.
I just didn't. That's not what I ever would have thought. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean they're both yelling up the food chain here to the Council of 13. It's not clear
Sure.
to me how much of Yerk politics is understood, like, just too much through the lens of Visser 1 and Visser 3, because I always just have this sense that all the high-ranking people, or anybody who's, like, near you in rank, you're just constantly throwing at accusations of, like, you're a traitor to the Empire and you should be executed, you're a traitor to the Empire, and, like, secretly everybody is just constantly doing, like, death penalty offenses all the time and nobody actually cares, but this is kind of how I view all of this, but maybe that's just Visser 1 and Visser 3.
Yeah, it's a little unclear. Do we ever find out about Visser 2? Because we've
God, they
seen Visser
must
4.
mention him at some point. I'm sure they do at some point, and I'm just not remembering.
Yeah, I guess it's not clear to me. I guess they're just basically military generals, kind of? Is their
Yeah,
role?
basically.
Like, do they have political power or none at all?
They do have political power in the sense that this is an entirely militaristic empire, so the generals
Right.
have political power.
I guess that's true in our society as well, but
It's not, though, because the generals are not, like, governors.
but in a sense,
Yeah.
like, you have indirect.
Yes. Yeah, but here they have direct, because
Okay.
they don't have, like, they don't have governors, right? They've got their governing body, the
Okay.
Council of 13, and then
Yeah.
directly under them are the generals, and everybody is reporting to a general.
Like, Visser
Right.
3 can just kill people and there's no repercussions. Like his own men, I mean.
Yeah, unless someone higher up the food chain says that he is not allowed to do that, which he is not allowed. I'm pretty sure he is just straight up not allowed to do that, but it doesn't matter, because someone higher up would have to, like, accuse him of it and make it stick, and there aren't a lot of people like that. and most of them don't actually give a shit that he's violating that rule.
Almost seems like Yerk society maybe wouldn't work out with all these leaders like this. I don't know. I don't know if everyone but Visser 1 is as stupid and power hungry as Visser 3, but
I mean, I suspect that Visser 1 also does her fair share of executions. She's just not stupid.
yeah, right. Yeah, probably. All right. There's also a
Um,
part here where Rachel mouths 2 words that Marco will not
mm,
repeat,
yeah,
and I assume it's cunt twice.
that's probably right. Yeah,
Okay.
she does that because Marco says he tries to mouth the word alive to her, and Rachel clearly does not know what the fuck he's trying to say, but he says that she misread him. I wonder what she thought he was doing.
Yeah, I don't like. She was offended by like alive. I don't know what. I'm trying to figure out what you'd think that
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, maybe she's just like, it's probably something that I hate because it's Marco.
I'm sure it's something vulgar. He's a who fuck this guy.
Yeah, right.
Also, it is funny of Marco to think that she'll have any clue what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Alive,
Oh,
like even if she got the
oh, I
word
get it.
alive. Yeah, you're alive. Okay, cool. I don't. What?
Yeah. As far as little moments at school, I also do like the part where Marco shows up halfway through the day and he's starting to talk to Jake, and Chapman is like, Marco, nice of you to join us. And instead of being like, oh shit, Jake's like, that's your problem, dude, and leaves. You fucking. You skip school, you go deal with it.
Yeah, pretty funny. And
It was pretty
another
good.
another instance of just imagining this Yerk that has to be like, got to do my job disciplining children today.
Yep. Yeah, and Marco, there's a bit of it because Marco does a whole spiel where he's like, "Oh, yeah, it was like a thing with my dad. You can call him and check and da da da." And Chapman's like, "I'm not dealing with that. Just go to class."
I bet that's the one thing. I bet in Chapman's head, him and the Yerk are like, we can both agree we hate Marco. I may not be behind the whole human enslavement thing, but yeah, this guy is an asshole.
Do not want to deal with this. Yeah, I mean, going back to the whole like having a yerk in your head thing, like maybe that would make it, if it wasn't for the whole enslavement thing, maybe that would make it a little more bearable. That you deal with somebody you hate, and then in your head you get to be like, "Fuck that guy," and the slug's like, "Yeah, I know, man, right?
Yeah, that's kind of fun.
Yeah,
I bet
that's a
there's a
good pitch."
begrudging respect between the two of them.
Yeah, they like
Gotta
each
be.
other.
Yeah, they do. I ship them.
Same.
I'm gonna write the fanfic where Chapman tries to explain to his daughter that her new parent is the Yerk inside of his head that he's in love with, and she has to accept their love.
And people are writing down all these fanfic ideas so we don't forget them.
Yeah, was there another one?
We've had a lot of fanfic ideas over the course of this show that were all really, really good.
Wow. Okay, take your word for it.
Yeah. All right. So Axe, Tobias, and Marco, they're going back to that office that night. So they show up at the office. They go roach, like on the cover. Um, there's like a big old scene where they run down the railing of a stairwell. And some guys like roaches. Um, there was a lot of pages dedicated to this, and that is all I have to say about it. Is that it happened? Can I keep going?
Are we trying to make sure I'm like, which part am I looking at before we got to roaches? There was
Well,
one section. Yeah.
yeah, I'm just gonna go right on to infiltrating Visser One's room. Like, if you have something to talk about before we get in there.
I do think we should just highlight the little conversation with Marco and Jake
Oh
where
yeah,
he says that
yeah,
it's a recurring theme, but he drives home again that Jake is in his commander era.
yes,
And he says, he sees how old Jake has gotten, and he has to stop himself from responding to him by saying, "Yes, sir."
yeah,
So like their relationship has changed a lot from them being buds who hang out and play Nintendo. I wish there was more of the buds
Doom.
playing Nintendo so that like just more of those. They reference it a fair bit in the early books. I kind of wish there had been more of it so that this change would hit me a little harder.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in this book, it doesn't really. It feels like they have this one section, and it would be nice if that theme were expounded upon.
Yeah, that is a point. That is one character relationship that hasn't had a ton of exploration. Like it's referenced all the time and we see it show up all the time, but I don't know if it's ever been like fully explored yet the way that we've seen like a little bit, like I don't know.
Yeah, Tobias and
Would you agree with
Rachel,
that?
Jake
Yeah,
and
try
Cassie. Yeah, it's been more just yeah,
even
we're
Jake and
we're
Rachel
buds.
in
Yeah.
like book 22,
Yeah.
they've had their conversations and
Yeah.
stuff.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it would be that's it's an interesting they're the only people in this friend group who are actually friends, right? Like
Cassie and Rachel are actually
okay,
friends.
you're right. Cassie and Rachel is the other one when we've seen plenty of them together. But yeah, like everyone else is kind of friends by circumstance.
Mhm.
And they're like I believe they would hang out outside of Animorphs. They did before. So yeah, I get maybe this is just a symptom of male friendships that they're not neither of them wants to talk about their feelings for each other. Although we did have
I
was it
think that has come
Marco?
up actually. Like there have been a couple points where Jake was just like, "I'm the weird. I can't talk about." Where Jake's like, "I got to talk about this with Cassie because like me and Marco are bros. We don't talk about stuff like that."
Yeah, probably. Was it Marco in the last book who was like, "No, I don't want to let Jake die," or was that
Yeah, yeah,
Tobias?
yeah.
Was
Marco
Marco?
was like that last book.
Okay, so yeah, there's it's in there a little bit, but yeah, you know.
I get so confused when you say the last book because I keep thinking the last like main series book, which was actually 2 books ago.
The previous book we read.
Yeah, not grass.
I read that a bit ago.
All right.
Oh,
So
and
okay.
also, okay,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah. Hmm.
they're turned into a cockroach real quick.
Yeah.
Marco talks about how disgusting it looks when Tobias turns into a cockroach from hawk to roach.
Hmm.
He says Mother Nature didn't come up with a bird bug on her own for good reason. Can
Hmm.
I introduce Marco to the hummingbird moth? Thank you.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah, a little
Good
nature for
job.
you.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
proud of you. You brought
Mm-hmm.
in a little nature thing.
Well, so there's a They Might Be Giants song about it.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, that's how I knew.
All right,
Get
so
on with it
so
already.
they're infiltrating Visser One's room. They get in there, and they get in there and demorph in there, and I guess this room is what's on the inner cover of the book, right? I guess this is where Marco is. That's Visser One's room here in the Sutherland Tower.
Okay.
Um, okay, and they demorph and they see that there is a portable pool there, and Marco's mom is like bound into it, and it's like kind of a complicated setup. So like her head is turned away from them, so she doesn't see them demorph. So uh, she doesn't like know that they're there, or that it's Marco or whatever. Um, but it's this like weird kind of thing where she's like bound in a kneeling position with her head turned to the side and her ear in the pool, so she can get reinfested, um, by the slug, right? And yeah, and I'll just also say right here, I think it's a little bit odd
Hmm.
that the demorphing doesn't make any sounds, and she doesn't seem to know that they're there. And anyway,
The
uh,
morphing is quiet. It's like a video game. They're outside of her
pretty
zone.
sure it makes schloop sounds and stuff.
Yeah, don't you hear bones cracking and shit?
Yeah, maybe
I
that's
don't know.
just
Nobody heard him
yeah.
turning into a fly, so.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Um, But yeah, Marco like wants to rescue her, but they're like, I don't know that you're going to be able to break those bonds. If we fail here, they'll know exactly who you are. So like they're like waiting and retreating. Um, but looking around the room, they also see that Visser One has a bunch of like surveillance equipment and images of the Free Hork-Bajir. So she knows about the Free Hork-Bajir, and they also determined that she has a couple of emergency Kandrona particle generators. So I guess she has two because they say she has enough for 6 more days. Um, so yeah, so she's got this little guerrilla operation going on out of the Sutherland Tower. She's got
Wait a
her
minute. That's
personal
Marco's
devices.
thing.
Oh, that must be because they're related.
Oh, fun.
So let's talk for a bit about this before the crazy thing happens, I guess.
Yeah, this is the the mission with just the boys. Note and Daddy's not
Mm.
around to watch them. It's the
That's a
dream
good point.
team.
Yeah.
Tobias,
Yeah.
Axe, and Marco.
Yeah, you're right. I hadn't
That's the
thought
dream
about that.
team. According to Seropedia, I
One of the
read this is the
boys.
second time that this team has been assembled.
Wow, when was the first time?
Uh, forget. I didn't. I don't remember.
Okay. Maybe we should keep track of that more.
The
Like
Escape.
who's
It was in the Escape book 15.
Marco books like the Dream
aquarium
Team.
one. Yeah. Okay. That's a long time ago. That's 50. That's half a series ago.
Yeah. That
Anyway.
is when you put it in perspective like that, it is kind of like we had a lot, we had Marco's mom. We set up the whole thing. We did a thing in book 15, and half the series later, we're going to do another thing with Marco's mom
again. Yeah. Marco's mom has got it going on.
Yeah, it's been 15 books since you sang that.
Did I sing that in book 15?
Probably. I think you did.
But we had another Marco's mom book in between, too.
Did we?
Didn't we? Wait, was the Escape, that was the book with the Lyrans? When it blew up?
No. So the book with the Lyrans was book 18, but she wasn't there. She was like overseeing that stuff. So like she was overseeing the Shark Project to be used on Lyra, and it was Visser 4 who ran the Lyran invasion.
This is
But
why
she
I
was
don't remember
involved
any of
with
this
Lyra.
shit. I didn't realize this happened so long ago. I thought this was like book 22 or something. I mean, no, that was David, whatever. But
Yeah, we've been running around with the chi here.
Maybe I'm conflating, like, I think two different books in my head or something. But the book where we think she might be dead, that was book 15?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't think it was that long ago.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Well, now I feel better even about not remembering. Again, in real time when these books came out, so that would have been over a year.
Yeah.
Since reading that. I mean, that's a long time to be still wondering what's going on with Marco's mom.
Yeah. You're I agree with you on that.
That's kind of some like restraint on their part, the publisher's part, of letting it sit that long, I guess, in a way. I don't know.
Again, I don't think they
too much credit, maybe.
I was gonna say I don't think they put any input into what K. Applegate was doing.
I say publisher, I mean, the whole operation.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway,
yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, this I don't know. Is this scene like the scene? Do you get like the intense emotion from this scene where Marco's like inches away from his mom? He could literally reach out and touch her, but like he can't do anything. Like that's like kind of a horrifying like image.
Yeah, I mean, the thing itself, the device of the Yerk pool that holds their neck in place, which we have never really, we've seen portable Kandrona devices, but I don't, and portable Yerk pools, but I don't think we've ever, at least I have never considered, oh yeah, like how do you get in and out of the host without them running away? So it makes sense. This is like the, I don't know, I'm picturing like the sharper image, the new neck holder device attachment. It's going to change your life. I don't know. Anyway, stupid. It was stupid. It is. I find that pretty horrifying. Even though, I mean, we've seen that happen. It's also just as horrifying when they just hold them or put them in a cage. But just the idea that, oh yeah, you just throw them in a. But couldn't they be screaming or something? It doesn't gag them.
Yeah, no, I mean, she says, like, go to hell or something as she's getting reinfested. So she could be screaming. I guess she's soundproofed the room with her
I guess
alien technology. She's using hologram paint on the windows, they
Okay.
say. So she's got like alien tech of some kind to make the place.
So we'll we'll come back to the Yerk pool since you brought it up. But what the fuck is a hologram paint? You mean a hologram?
They
What?
describe it. You paint it on the back of the glass
Yeah, I
and it
have it here.
projects an image. Okay, yeah, tell me what it says.
Yeah, project a hologram onto the back of this paint. What? And thereby disguise a room. Wait, so you paint something and you project the hologram onto the paint? Why don't they just say there was a hologram? I don't understand the need to invent a type of paint. We
Yeah,
know what holograms are.
this feels like somebody who has a very specific idea of exactly what alien holograms are and how they work and is trying to like figure out a real world engineering solution to get around the limitations of like how reality interacts with the technology. But this is not
We've
that this is not hard sci-fi, right? You can just say like there was a hologram and it's fine. Like
we've
yeah, in the
seen
real
them
world
use
there are,
holograms
yeah,
before.
cuz like you could say like okay, but like maybe it doesn't work because if you're in the room it'll look like a hologram or something weird, or like it doesn't work well with the window, or I need it to not be a hologram in the room but only from the outside, and there's something about the angles that make, but I do think that all of that is just like you could just say it was a hologram. It's fine, right? We don't understand
Yeah.
how holograms work enough to nitpick that.
It was so confusing to me because this is just there are certain shortcuts you can take in fiction where
Mhm.
it's just like yeah, it's a hologram like nano machines or whatever the hell. You don't need to explain the science behind it. It's just unnecessarily confusing. I guess maybe as a kid I'd be like, "Wow, this is like a new idea I haven't ever imagined before." And maybe I would have thought that was cool. So, I don't know.
I don't remember this at all from when I was a kid. Like this is the part that's just like, oh yeah, that's there. It made no
More
impact on me as a child.
that's good. I'm wondering if something else made an impact on you as a child because I feel like this Yerk pool might have put some fetishes into some kids.
Hmm.
It restrains you and it holds your neck in place and you're helpless and can't move and like screaming while a slug is about to come back into your ear.
Yeah, I see it. In your head's like half submerged. I could see.
It's a
Yeah,
mom.
yeah. They go out of their way to talk about how beautiful and pretty smelling she is. I
Yeah.
see
Oh
what you're
no.
saying. I see where you're going.
Marco. I'm stuck. I'm stuck in the Yerk pool.
What are you doing, stepmommy? This is the real mommy, though.
Well, the Yerk is the stepmommy.
Mmm.
What are you
Marco
doing,
to
Yerk
Visser
mommy?
1.
Anyway, I guess this is my way of trying to say that personally, I thought it was pretty hot.
Okay. Would have been better if it was a dryer, but
Yeah. Now, to your point, I do think that the Marco mom relationship. I mean, we're going to get into it deeper in this book, but the horror of it is they'd spend a
hmm
lot of time on it in this book, and it's pretty well expressed. I think. I did
hmm
kind of think in this scene. I guess I can see why maybe it's not in their interest, but I don't know. Part of me just can't help but go, just reach in there and squash it. Just stick your hand in there and pick it up, throw it somewhere.
Yeah.
Like it's not that fast. It doesn't know you're in the room. Run up to the thing, reach inside, grab it.
Yeah,
Right?
no, it's not crazy. I understand why with cooler heads in charge, you're looking at it like, well, I don't know if we can move the pool. I don't know if we can cut the bonds or get them to release. So even if we kill Visser 1, the host body still might be here. And then what? Somebody's gonna come check on her at some point, maybe, and then what? We either kill the mom or do like I don't know what we can do about it without blowing cover. Um, but it's also not unreasonable to be all like, well, we assume she's undercover with, and we assume that she's, being hunted, so maybe she's hiding and nobody's gonna come back. So maybe you just kill the Yerk and we take forever. Maybe Marco's mom knows some passcode or something.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been crazy to just say fuck it, just kill the Yerk and let's see if we can get her out of there.
Yeah, I would have thought, but they decide no,
Yeah,
that's
I
impossible.
understand why Axe would say no, and I understand why Tobias would go along with that.
I almost feel like Axe should be the one who's, he's like that filthy, disgusting Yerk, and he's just sticking his tail right in and just piercing her on the stick like a kebab.
Yeah, I guess it's both. There's a bit of both of that for Axe.
Yeah,
If
depends
Rachel
on
were
who's
here,
writing him.
that Yerk would be dead.
Well, yeah, and so would Marco's mom. She would just like, let's just blow up the office.
Yeah, what happens if someone comes in and finds her? Okay, then we kill her.
They're having a big debate. They're like, what should we do? I don't know. Is this safe? And then meanwhile, they look over and you hear, just fucking stomping the whole building. That was my
That's our
elephant, by the
Rachel.
way. Did that
That
sound
was a really good
convincing?
elephant.
Okay.
I liked it.
All right.
All right. So, well, a bunch of Hork-Bajir do bust in to kill her. Like they like retreat and go hide in the bathroom. A bunch of Visser Three's Hork-Bajir bust into the room, as she's being reinfested and freeing herself. Um, so she's like they're about to just say like, oh, let them kill each other. She pulls a Dracon, whatever, but at Marco's request he convinces them to go out and save her and fight off all of Visser Three's Hork-Bajir. So there's a big action sequence. So Visser One's now in even bigger trouble because the Visser Three's guys have seen the Andalites come help her once again. So this is 2 times now. And they offer to Marco's kind of getting a plan working here. So they offer to work together with her to get Visser 3. And she agrees that she'll help them get Visser 3 on the condition that they give her the free Hork-Bajir Valley. So Marco gets Tobias to agree to her condition because he's got wheels spinning. He's got an idea. Now, we don't find out exactly what his idea is yet, but he's got a whole plan here. So they cut a deal, all right, and it's very explicit. Both of them say out loud that like, okay, the other one is going to betray them first opportunity they get, right? They're just like, all right, we'll work together to get Visser 3 here, and first one of us who gets the chance to kill the other will also do that. And they also both kind of know that the other one is lying to them in some sense. Okay. So
Okay.
this is kind of what you've been asking for a while, isn't it? With the bad guys and the good guys working together.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, I guess that is. Yeah, that's fun. That is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
You've kind of wanted that.
It is good. That is pretty good. Yeah, I do think that's good. I did wonder what. So we find out that Visser 1 knows. Clearly, Visser 1 is far more competent than Visser 3. It's demonstrated several times in this book.
Yes.
And she knows that there's a Hork-Bajir colony, which I don't think Visser 3 even knows about, or does he know because they've been like raiding it? I guess from time to time.
I think Visser 3 is just like he thought the initial free Hork-Bajir were killed, and then they're getting raided by free Hork-Bajir. I don't know what. I guess Visser 3 must know that there is a free Hork-Bajir colony somewhere, somehow.
But don't they seem surprised that she knows about it when she brings it up?
Yeah.
I don't. It seems like they think nobody knows about it. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure. Like, it does make sense that she wouldn't know. Like, in the context of this book, it seems like Visser 3 has been trying very hard to keep it quiet, right? Like, one of the things that Visser 1 is here to do is to go to the Council of 13 and say, look how incompetent Visser 3 is. He's got these Andalite bandits he hasn't exterminated. He's got free Hork-Bajir, right? The only free Hork-Bajir in the whole galaxy. Visser 3 let it happen, blah, blah, blah. So it would make sense from that perspective that he wants to keep it quiet. But you're right, it does seem like the Animorphs feel like he just doesn't even know at all. But then in this book, it kind of feels like he does know. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little bit. Yeah, it seems like I think in past books he must have known. I don't know. He could,
Hmm.
obviously the one thing he doesn't know is where it is, and neither does
Yeah,
she, I guess.
yeah.
I was wondering at first, oh, is she trying to hunt him down, or maybe she's gonna help arm them, and just maybe her
Mm.
quest for revenge is so great that she no longer cares about the Yerk cause or something. But she does.
Yeah, no, she's totally loyal to the, well, I don't know if loyal's the right word, but she's got the Council of 13, right? Like if she can get them on her side, then like she can have Visser 3 executed and she can have all her former glory. So she's not willing to turn her back on that.
Yes, we find out this scene confirms all the theories about her. We find out everything they said was 100% correct.
Yes.
She's been demoted to sub Visser. Pretty harsh.
Yeah.
That's pretty harsh. All the way down to sub. You're telling me Visser 3 never fucked up bad enough to get even down to 4 or 5, and she goes from 1 to sub from one little
Hmm.
mess up? That's
Yeah, fucked
harsh.
up on Lyra, and she also, I mean, she did, the Lyra was lost entirely, although it was Visser 4 in charge. I don't know. But she also, well, wait a second. Wait a second.
Yeah.
So it was Visser 4 in charge, and then they changed the entire timeline.
Well, we
Maybe
don't
it
need to talk
wasn't.
about that.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No, I think Visser 4 was still in charge. But she
Let's
but
not.
she,
Let's just. I
yeah.
think we just
Okay.
pretend that book kind of didn't happen, right? It's just easier that way.
But she's also been accused of being a traitor, and I actually have I'm trying. See, I just going off of this book, I think there is reason to believe that that it's possible that maybe she wasn't really demoted to subvisor, or like she was
Whoa.
officially demoted to subvisor, but maybe sort of not. Like maybe that is a political play where
Huh.
she kind of still has Visser 1 power, but she's being called subvisor. I don't know.
That's a theory.
Yeah, when we get to the end of the book, you'll see some stuff with that. But
Okay. Oh, all right. Maybe I
um,
missed it. I don't know.
I don't know. But anyway, there's maybe that's too spoilery to talk about now. But she, yeah, no, she has been demoted to subvisor here.
All right. I think Axe is a good fighter now.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of reminiscent of Elfangor being a prodigy, because there's like a whole bit where he like kicks some Hork-Bajir ass and they like run away and they're scared of him.
Yeah. So I feel like there's been progress for. I mean, he was always kind of a good fighter, but here it seems like he's a real badass.
Hmm.
So that's fun.
Yeah.
Here's something I found strange, and I think this happened a couple times in the last book too. Elfangor's secret. Referring to people as meat. Have you picked up on this?
Interesting. I don't think I have.
It's
Like I know
happened.
Karen said it in book 19, but
Yeah, it's definitely, and maybe I even brought it up already, but I've noticed it more in this book and I think the last one or the one before that. That is basically instead of saying someone is dead meat, they just shorten it and say, "Oh, they're meat."
oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that okay,
Oh,
okay.
you're talking about a
I thought you
different
meant like a York
context.
saying that, which I couldn't think of that happening. Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
no, they
Yeah.
just go, "They're meat. You're going to be meat, buddy." Which is I've never heard that before, and it's kind of weird.
Yeah. It's a
Is
little
that?
grosser than dead meat.
It's
It's funny
much
you take the word
grosser.
dead out and it feels grosser.
Yeah, because dead meat is not a no longer means anything. Like you don't think about the actual meaning of it. It's just sounds that mean you're
Yeah.
gonna get beat up. Whereas meat is like, ugh. That's icky.
Yeah, I feel you on that.
I'm trying to figure out was that slang or was that them trying to do a Joss Whedon and invent a slang, or is this like maybe this is persons from maybe some of these ghostwriters are from different regions where they say it.
Trying to avoid the word dead for censorship
Maybe
purposes. I
that's
don't
what
know.
it is. Yeah, maybe they said dead meat. No, but they talk about death all the fucking time.
Yeah,
So.
I don't know.
Anyway, I don't know. Just something I think is weird.
Yeah.
And I You know what? Maybe we'll. Oh wait. When do we talk about Marco and his mom and whether or not she lives or dies?
What do you mean by that?
I feel like a kind of the core of this book
Mm,
is the conflict of between Marco, his desire to save the human race, and everyone else being like, oh, Marco doesn't have the guts to kill his own mom, and Marco saying, no, I can totally kill my
yeah.
own mom.
Yeah,
All
I
that
think there's going
stuff.
to be more of that coming up. Like right here, you can sort of there's like kind of like that suspicion where the other characters they don't really know what Marco is playing at here because he doesn't explain his plan. But yeah, he personally starts dwelling on that more as we go on. Um, but there are a couple other things that happen here
Sure.
uh, first. Like for example. I very much appreciate how almost immediately Visser One like suspects them, right? Like the
Oh yeah.
one of the first things she says is she's just like, "How come only one of you ever talks? Visser Three's stupid. There's something he's missing. Something's weird about you guys. That's not right. I don't know what's going on, but that's not right." Like imagine if she was the antagonist this whole time. She would have found him out in book 2.
It is a very interesting choice because up and without that, you can simply assume that everything in these books up until this point, you can excuse it by saying, "Look, it's for kids." And Visser 3 doesn't figure it out because other then the series just wouldn't work anymore. It's kind of a it's a conceit. It's just something you have to
Hmm.
deal with. But this just solidifies that actually Visser 3 is just really stupid.
Yeah, I feel like you are also supposed to understand that Visser One is extremely smart too. But like, yes, like that this does solidify that he's very stupid.
Yeah, it's a little of both.
Hmm.
Mainly the former, in my opinion. Well, yeah, and she like gets so close. She's like right there, and she does figure it out later. Spoilers, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Um,
Spoilers. But yeah, no, it is, and the only reason she doesn't is because she's like, fuck it, I'll kill him, and then I'll deal with that once we've dealt with Visser Three. I'll have plenty of time once I, resume command of everything.
and she says they issued a gashad on her,
Yeah, a gashad. Yeah, a warrant to kill on sight.
kind of like it's like a fatwa.
It's a lot like a fatwa. Uh,
Yeah, that's fun.
speaking of dumb words, uh, so Dracon beams in this series, they're always written as onomatopoeia. It's always like "tsew tsew," right, and like in all caps.
Hmm. Hmm.
So there's a part here where Visser One is all like, we'll get Visser Three together, and she like points a mime like a finger gun at them. She's like, and then, phew, which in the book reads well, but when you say it out loud, it sounds very stupid. It does not sound threatening, right? Like it doesn't have the same power as like, and then bang. Bang is a good strong word. Phew sounds dumb.
Well, why are you bringing this up now? Hasn't this been happening since book one?
Well, I'm just bringing it up now because when I'm reading the sound effects, I'm imagining the sound of a Dracon beam. But here, I'm imagining the sound of a woman saying the word "tsew" because she says it
Oh, I see.
in
Yes,
quotes.
she makes a gun hand and she
Yeah,
mimes doing that, and she says out loud, "Sue."
yeah. That's just what made me think of it.
Yeah, that's kind of funny, but she
Yeah.
looks stupid. I
Uh,
like right after this too. I just want to point out they need to morph into birds to leave, and Marco says to Axe, "Let's get wings." And I bet Axe was like, "I want a different kind of
mm,
wings."
yeah, I bet he was. Can
Sure
I
did.
just say Tobias is not a good leader? Like Jake is specifically like, Marco, you're too close to this. You can't make the calls on it. Tobias is in charge, and they come in here, and Marco's like, just let me make this play, Tobias. I'm gonna cut a deal with her to give her the free Hork-Bajir for Visser 3. I've got a plan. Okay, don't worry about it. And Tobias is like, all right, Marco, but you're gonna answer to Jake on that one. Jake specifically put you in charge so this wouldn't happen.
Immediately washes his hands of the whole thing.
Yeah.
I
think that is very in character, but I mean, there's a reason Tobias never leads missions.
Yeah, no, he works better alone.
Yeah, he's
or
a
as a
bird.
support character. Yeah, I mean, I got bones to pick with Tobias in this book,
Okay.
and everybody, all the non-Marcos, to be
All
honest.
right. Presumably that'll come up later.
Yeah, I have it in here, but we can save it till later.
No, if you have it here, we can talk about it.
No, we'll save it for later.
All right. All right. So Marco says they need mountain morphs for his plan, which is not really going to be. This is one of those plans. I don't know if I already said this, but this is one of those plans that's going to be like they enact it throughout the book, and at some point he tells them all what it is, but we, the reader, don't. We find out as it happens.
The Ocean's 11.
Yeah, although it should be noted that at this point he still has not told anybody what his plan is. He's just running this on his own. So, and he's like, oh, well, we totally can't go talk to Jake about it in the middle of the night because Tom's there, and also Jake might tell me no. So we're gonna go talk to Cassie. At this point, he's just totally taking control from Tobias over the whole situation.
It's my POV, bitch. I get to say what goes.
That's right. So Cassie's like suspicious, but she suggests mountain goats. So Tobias, Axe, and Marco all go to the gardens and acquire some mountain goats. And Marco, there's the bit when they are doing it where Marco gets head butted in the ass and knocked off a 15-foot cliff, but he's fine. Don't worry about it. But it's sort of during this section that we also get a lot of chapters where Marco starts ruminating, like while he's flying and like at home after the acquiring, on like what he's doing with regards to this plan, what he's setting in motion, and who that makes him as a person.
That's deep shit.
Which is, I think, what you wanted to talk about. So there's a bit here, where Marco has a quote, and this is one of the lines in this book that has like stuck with, like when I was a kid, this line really stuck with me. To me, this is probably the most memorable part of the whole book.
Hold on. More so than tail feathers grow back? Don't grow back? Do they or don't they? I always forget.
They grow back.
They do.
Tail feathers grow back.
Okay.
Maybe not more so, but like tail feathers grow back isn't, I don't think anyone loses tail feathers in this book.
Well, I guess not. Tobias might. It could have happened.
He might.
He might have got singed by a beam. Anyway, what is this quote?
So this is kind of a long. Marco says, "People don't understand the word ruthless. They think it means mean. It's not about being mean. It's about seeing the bright, clear line that leads from A to B, the line that goes from motive to means, beginning to end. It's about seeing that bright, clear line and not caring about anything but the beautiful fact that you can see the solution, not caring about anything else but the perfection of it." So I don't know. Did that line stand out to you as a reader, as an adult?
I'm trying to look to see where that is and if I highlighted it or not, because it sounds like something I might have. I did write down Marco's been hanging out with Rachel too much.
Yeah, I do think, and there's a little bit more at the end of the book, but I do think Marco is becoming more Rachel-y here.
Almost like he is. I think he sees in Rachel. I think he's been around Rachel a long time, and he's like, "Hey, you know what? That seems like a pretty good defense mechanism. I'll try it. It seems to work for her."
Yeah, I mean, okay, so like. Here's the question: Is Marco the last one to be like permanently emotionally damaged by all this, or is that maybe Axe? Right? Because like, he's had the whole mom thing, but he already, his mom was already dead. I don't know, like him joining in it, it's not the same as like a fundamental personality shift where he's like becoming someone else the way that like Rachel's becoming a psycho, Cassie is having to wrestle with being this morally gray hypocrite who kills people. Jake's like the weird ways in which Jake's leadership is affecting him, and Tobias of course being a bird. Like you can because I think if you were to do with like go to Axe, he's like becoming more like distrustful and disconnected from his people. Like the issues on the Askelin and the Lyra book are upsetting him. But I don't know if he's that far gone. But I do feel like Marco's kind of taken longer than most of the rest of them to get to this point of being like, something's wrong with him now.
Yeah, I also think Axe is, even though he is their age, he's probably more equipped as an Andalite to, like, he's been preparing to be a soldier, basically. I mean, I
That's
guess
true.
not. Has he literally been preparing to be a soldier? I guess
Yeah,
not
he was
really,
he
but
was a cadet. Yeah,
he
so he
was.
he did
Okay,
go
yeah.
through training, but he had not seen any battle yet.
But, and, just their culture and his brother, like, he kind
Hmm.
of idolized. And so
Yeah.
he
Yeah,
so he's but he's prepared for it, I think, more so than these children.
yeah, because like when minor spoilers, but I do think that a lot of Axe's weird damage, is less about like I'm traumatized by war and more about like I spent so much time living among humans and saw the Andalites messing up like this stuff over on Lyra and blah 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 blah. Saw that we were capable of bad things, and I'm like becoming more of like a cinnamon bun pop culture reference obsessed guy and becoming disconnected from my own people and culture. Though we haven't seen a ton of that yet.
I like what you're saying, but I feel
Hmm.
like most of that is not in the text of the books.
Okay. Okay. But yeah,
But
with
yeah,
with 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 regards to Marco, minor spoilers here, but this is sort of a permanent shift for Marco. Like we've seen bits and pieces of Marco's ruthlessness up until now. Um, we saw in I keep going back to book 19 because it's great, but we saw in book 19 the bit where Cassie says that like Marco's gonna hate himself for killing this little girl, but he'll do it. We saw last book where Marco's like, "Oh, everybody's sick of killing. Nobody wants any more killing. Fine, I'll do it." And he throws Visser Four's Yerk into the fire. Um, like we've seen Marco being like willing to do the difficult thing, even though it hurts him emotionally. But in this book, we really go full on into like, I see the right way to do things. I see what needs to be done, and I do what needs to be done, and emotions be damned. Like, as separate from Rachel, who's like all emotionality, she's just fucked up.
yeah. In this book, Marco is kind of going, I know what I have to do, but I don't
Yeah,
know if I have the strength to do it.
that's right. But this does become more of a permanent thing for Marco. Um, like
Interesting.
I think
Yeah.
this book is a turning point for him.
Okay. Yeah, I'm into it. I that makes sense. It's pretty it's pretty traumatizing.
Yeah.
I get it. I see why this would fuck him up more so than he already was.
Hmm.
I mean, he was kind of riding that line for a while anyway, so
Yeah.
just needed a little tap.
Yeah. Now there. I mean, there is also the question, right? Because Marcus spends a lot of time in this book saying like, I'm the clever one, I'm the logical one, I'm the ruthless cold one. That's why there is a question of how reliable is Margot as a narrator here. Like, is he actually thinking clearly in this situation, or is he just trying to tell himself he's thinking clearly because that like helps
Hmm.
absolve him of the guilt?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah. I think that's very plausible.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
Like,
wouldn't. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I wouldn't imagine that anything he's saying in terms of like, I don't think he's misleading us in terms of what's happening, like what actually happens, but in terms of what's
Yeah.
inside of his own head. I don't know if it's yeah, reliable narrator, not in the sense that he's intentionally misleading, but that
Hmm.
he can't. It's on a subconscious level that he can't even admit to himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like you could, is Marco's plan here the actual objective best way to deal with Visser One? Maybe it would be better to just kill her outright. I don't know. You could potentially debate that. Um, and Marco is very, very quick to seize leadership immediately from Tobias and not talk to Jake about it and not talk to anyone else and justify it by being like, "But I'm right, so it's okay." I some of this might not actually be that ruthlessness and actually be like him being like I don't know if control freak is the right word, but like having this sense of like I want it to be my plan. I don't want
Yeah.
someone else's correct plan to be the one that kills my mother. If it's gonna happen, I want to be the one doing it.
It's his
Um,
responsibility, and
yeah.
he didn't have control over
Hmm.
whether or not his mom disappeared or when she would come back. So he's like trying to cling on to this situation of like, I need which, it's a pretty common human thing, right? To
Hmm.
you just want to feel like you are in control of any given situation if possible.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we all want. Pretty deep, right?
Yeah, it's kind of deep. I don't know if Tobias actually wants that.
He wants to be in control of when he gets a rabbit and shit.
He wants to control his meadow.
He wants to control Rachel.
Rest of the world be damned. He clearly doesn't, because he does not work very hard at it.
Yeah, well, what he wants and what he's,
That's true.
decides to do. I don't
That's
know.
true.
Should we get this is God, all this fucking serious talk. Let's get to these damn goats.
Yeah, how do you feel about the phrase Mr. Mountain Goat's homeboys?
I like it a lot.
Mm.
Good band name. And really, though, we got robbed of a goat cover. I can't believe they went for the cockroach instead of a goat. Terrible decision. Terrible.
Yeah. And his like hunched over all fours pose, that works for a goat too,
Can you
Like even
imagine
after the photo
Goat
shoot.
Marco? It would be so fun.
I could. Although
Mid
these are
goat.
not mountain goats. I mean, okay, they're sillier than other badass animals, but they're not going to have the like lopsided head, tongue sticking halfway out face, which is
It
what
would
I
be
really
funny.
want to see Marco doing.
He'd have a little beard. He'd have horns.
He would have that.
That's all I'm asking for. I'm sure it was something where they're like, boys like cockroaches because they're gross, and that's why they did that.
Hmm.
Stupid. Give me some goats, buddy. Give me the goats.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so ignoring the axe book because a cow just always is or not a cow, an Andalite just always makes a good book cover even if it's turning into a cow. So we got a cockroach, and then before that a yerk, and then before that a squid. So we are kind of on a chain of gross covers.
Yeah. I don't know. Is a squid really that gross?
They're pretty gross, I would say.
I guess. I feel like bugs though are the real. I mean, and yeah,
Eh.
yerk for sure, but that's pretty plot justified.
I'm honestly kind of surprised that you're not being like, yeah, squid. Ew, they're like slimy and roll around. They
I
got like
mean, I guess they're
tentacles and stuff.
gross. Like if I had to hold one in my hands or something, but I don't have a reaction the way like you just say cockroach and I'm like, ugh, gross.
I see. Like, because you would like eat squid, but you wouldn't eat cockroach, even if it doesn't look like a cockroach or something.
That's for damn sure. Yes.
Okay.
I wouldn't be that excited about eating squid either, but yes, I would eat 100 squids before I ate a single cockroach. That's for sure.
Okay. Oh yeah.
I know these concepts of things, whether or not they're gross, is difficult for you to understand because you're a trash man who.
Yeah, I mean,
feeds
like
off
I
of
would
filth.
eat cockroaches. I don't if
Yeah, I'm sure if
I
there was
wouldn't
one
eat
crawling
just
on the
like
floor
a
right
live
now.
cockroach because I don't think they taste very good. But like if you cooked it up, no problem. But I think
If it happened to fall into a pan whilst I was cooking, sure, I'd throw it in the mix.
yeah, sure. Why not? The heat sterilizes it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. That's why I'm constantly branding my testicles. Anyway.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to. I don't
Sure.
want to be able to produce children.
Are no kids or whatever the fuck it's called.
Okay.
Talk about these goats more.
I don't. The goats. I said all I said to say. Next.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I would like point out the similarities between the mountain goat and Andalites, except for Axe's extremely disappointing experience with the cow.
Yeah, that was fun. I like that he said that.
Yeah, it was good. um, all right. I guess if we're done with goat time, we
Well, it's not
can.
go time yet.
That's true. Well, it was sort of goat time. There were
No,
goats.
no. There's a
Marco got
clear
headbutted.
demarcation of when goat time begins in this book, and we are not there yet.
If you're sure, I just feel like there might be multiple goat times.
This is pre goat time. This is like pre gaming for goat time.
Okay, we're pre-goating.
That's right.
Okay. All right. So they all meet up to set Marco's plan into motion. At this point, everybody does know what the plan is except for us. They call in the Chi, who in an hour you'll all hear what they were here for. And they. We've been going for a long time. I just realized.
It's Steven's fucking fault that this episode's going to be over time.
You're right. But anyway, so Marco contacts Visser One to set up a meeting, and they lure her and Chapman into like a surprise meet cute type thing. So now Chapman has seen her, and Visser Three's guys are going to start following her, right? And she's aware of all this. They're in contact with her. They're like birds and bugs and whatever. They direct her to what I suppose is the mall. They don't actually say it's the mall, but there's J.C. Penney in a camping store. And they have her buy like outdoor gear, gloves and scarf, climbing gear, that sort of thing. And meanwhile, a bunch of controllers are starting to tail her. There's like a tense. Excuse you. What are you snorking at over
You
there?
didn't have to stop the whole podcast. These tail her sounded like Taylor, and she's buying clothes. I thought that was sort of funny.
Okay, that is sort of funny.
I wasn't going to say it out loud, but you made me.
I made you. There's like a tense moment with like a controller security guard, where Rachel has to step in and be like, "Oh, I saw her buy that scarf. What's going on?" and draw a crowd to get her out of trouble. But yeah, there's a lot of scenes where she's like going through and shopping, and they're guiding her, and she gets all geared up, and they get Visser Three's guys following her. So things are getting set up.
Can you imagine? You have talked before about your experience working at a retail sporting goods store.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if Visser One asked you for help looking for something,
Yeah, I gotta tell you, she would not have been able to do this at my store when I was working there.
Why is that?
So, okay, so she comes in to get climbing gear. They say ropes and pitons.
Is that how you say that word?
Piton?
Climbing gear?
But the point is that like this is not, if she doesn't actually know how to use that, it's not going to be very helpful. Also, she probably needs more pieces than just that. And so like if somebody, and I had this happen, if somebody walked in and was like, I need some fairly advanced technical gear, and it's very clear that they have no idea how to use it, like, I would not sell that to them. Like, I had a guy come in who was trying to buy, gear to like set anchors and that sort of thing. And like I was talking to him about like what exactly he was looking to do and what he needed, and it immediately became very clear that's like this guy has never climbed outside in his life before. He the only experience he's ever had with this kind of thing is watching YouTube videos, and he intends to take his whole family out, none of whom have any experience either. And I literally had to give him a lecture and basically say like, I'm not gonna sell you this stuff. The best case scenario, you're going to kill yourself, because worst case scenario, you're going to kill your son and have to live with that for the rest of your life. If you want to go buy it online, you can do that, and that's on your own head. But like, no, don't do that. Don't do this. I'm not going to help you do this. So if she had come up and been like, I need what's the bird in my head saying? Yeah, some this, and No, I would not have sold her that in a million years. I'm
I'm
just
sorry I
telling you.
asked. I'm really sorry I asked. I thought it'd be funny. I thought maybe we could do like a little bit, pretend you're selling something to Visser One, but no, it wasn't funny. Nobody really liked it. It was stressful. It made
I'm
everyone
just telling you how it
uncomfortable,
is. There's going to be a
deeply
lot of times
uncomfortable.
this podcast where I might tell you how it is.
The customer's always right. You sell me what the fuck I ask you to sell me and let me leave. Okay? Or I'm fucking going down the street to Effingers and go fuck yourself.
That's fine. No, you can go do that. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, this is why I
That's
order
not my
shit online.
responsibility.
This is why your brick and mortar stores are going out of business because I don't want to listen to your shit. All right?
Hey, I referred him to like guide services or whatever the fuck, some place that could like send someone out to whatever. Fuck it. Uh, anyway,
I didn't really have anything else to say about this entire section.
okay. So there is a part in here because you made some mention of like earlier with like did she do it intentionally when she hit Marco because of the host and blah blah blah. So there is a bit in here where Visser One is trying to just look normal in the store while she's waiting for instructions. And she's looking through the clothing, and Marco notes that she's looking through kids' clothing that would be about his size. And you know, obviously this is the Yerk just kind of like playing a part, and it's but um, there is that thought there that like I guess when the Yerk thinks how do I act like a normal person, she falls into like a mother persona. Oh yeah, this human is a mother, and and she's got a kid this age, so I'll act like I'm shopping for a kid this age or something like that. I thought that was kind of touching.
Huh. I did not I don't think I read enough into it to be touched by it.
Hmm.
But I mean I do yeah, it's logically yeah, all of her instincts of how to be human come from Marco's mom.
Hmm.
But isn't
Like
she just
obviously she's
yeah.
she's not thinking about
You're
why
touched
she's
on
doing it,
behalf
but
of that Marco's mom is a good mom.
yeah, yeah.
That's
It's a nice
nice.
little scene. There's also kind of like I don't know, kind of an ominous scene or like a dark scene where they're talking about this plan that they have, and Cassie has an outburst, and it's like we're talking about Marco's
Mm,
mom, right? This is not we're not
yeah.
talking about killing Visser when we're talking about Marco's mom, and Jake just totally shuts her down. And it's like this is not the time, Cassie, and it's a pretty dark scene. I think it's made darker by the fact that it is Jake and Cassie who are they've got a thing for each other.
They
Um,
do?
yeah, I know, right?
Do you think
But
they like each other?
I think they do like each other.
Well, this is what I was really alluding to earlier, and this is again like kind of we're gonna really dig into this in the final scenes, but this was the one part where I was like, "Thank you, Cassie," because I feel like Tobias and everyone else in this book is so they're just so adamant about look, Marco, your mom has to fucking die. Would you just fucking deal with it? Like maybe you shouldn't go on this mission because we're gonna kill your mom. It
Hmm.
just feels like they're so I'm just sitting here like I don't know. I feel like I don't care. I mean, I guess this is just to illustrate how far gone Jake is and
Yeah.
Rachel and the rest of them. But I'm like, man, like it's his mom. Fucking, you should be doing everything you can to save her. I don't care about the
Hmm.
consequences. I'm like, as an Animorph, part of this team, priority numero uno is save his damn mom. And
Hmm.
and even Marco doesn't really entertain that idea.
Yeah, I mean that's really where it like comes from because like I fully understand why Tobias, Axe, and Rachel are not on that. Like they're Axe is just going to do whatever he's told, and Tobias is not going to make a stink. Like Tobias will like muse about how it would be nice if we could save her, but he's not going to make a stink about it. And Rachel's going to be like kill her or whatever. Um, I think that if Marco had been all like you can't kill her, she's my mom, Jake might have been a little bit more open to like, okay, how do we do that? But since Marco's coming up and he's like, okay, I have the plan. I'm not thinking about it. I know how bad it's going to be, but I'm not thinking about that. I have the plan. Um, Jake is kind of like, I don't know, he has the plan. Like I know how bad it'll be for him too, but I'm also not gonna think about it.
Yeah, in an earlier book, Marco throws Tom in Jake's face
Hmm.
in about trying to say like, "Oh, how would you feel if we were dealing with your brother right now?" Which is still a pretty good question. Like, why aren't you
Yeah,
fucking murdering your brother every day?
yeah,
I mean, I know why because it would, I guess, suspicion, etc. But it sure seems like he's pretty fine, like waiting for that to work itself out at some point. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like it. I get the sense from here that Jake would not have just if Marco had not been the one to bring it up, Jake would not have just unilaterally made the call to kill her here. I think
Or at
he would have
least,
entertained saving her a lot more.
yeah, Marco could have appealed to his better nature and
Hmm.
gotten there. I don't know. I feel like Jake still might have just done it. But if
Yeah,
Marco really fought back, then he could have maybe got some headway. But again, you've got 4 against 2 here if that were the case. I don't
yeah.
know. It's dark, man. It is very dark, and it does. I guess maybe says more about me and the reading of these characters that I felt like, man, I just couldn't believe that they're not. They're just so cruel in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is reasonable, and I think that you probably are supposed to feel that. You know, Marco does spend a lot of time being like, yeah, when everybody reads about this in the history books, or I guess in this Animorphs book that's being written, they're all going to be like, boy, that guy was sure one cold motherfucker. What was his problem?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Wild shit. And
uh, yeah,
that's it.
so now they,
Oh, and also Marco says, "This is my first and probably last visit to a women's dressing room." just want to highlight that line. He's not ruling
maybe
it out.
is he Marco an egg? Maybe.
Okay. Can't
uh,
can't he just be a normal hetero pervert like me?
Wait, you're hetero?
Yeah, dude.
I knew the other part.
You knew I was normal?
All right. So so okay. She's driving away. Visser One is driving away, and they are stowing away in her car as cockroaches. Um, and they're talking her through the plan, and they're discussing back and forth with her. And Cassie says something, she's like, "Oh, do you think I'm going to be what? You think I'm going to be nicer than Visser 3?" And Cassie says, "No, I think that you'll be weaker. Your weak, unstable human host will be easier to kill." And Visser 1's like, "Yeah, that makes sense. Except, you know, I've looked over the casualty reports for Earth, and you guys like don't kill humans. You guys don't ever kill humans. Wait a second, and they're all just like, oh, well, shit. They don't have an answer for that. So Visser One just immediately figures out that at least some of them are humans. Um, so good
Yeah.
job, Visser 3. Visser 1 is speed running your entire operation here. Um, they arrive at the National Park Visitor Center, and Marco's mom leaves on foot while like Rachel, Tobias, and Axe go get into position. Visser 3 shows up not far behind in his limo, which he takes everywhere for some reason, with a bunch of guys and Hork-Bajir, and he gets out and start blowing everything up, the buildings, killing park rangers, the animals, and they blow up Marco's mom's car, which still has Jake and Cassie as cockroaches in it. And it's pretty fucked because at this point it seems like Jake and Cassie are legitimately dead, and Marco's like calling for them and they're not answering. But he's like, all right, plan can still work. Everybody's still here. I've still got all the pieces in place. It's just, I'm gonna have to get more directly involved than I had intended to. Like he was supposed to like orchestrate the plan, but he wasn't supposed to like execute it. Right. But they don't
Yeah.
have Jake and Cassie anymore.
Yeah. But, at this point, it's hard. I don't really know how to even, if it's fair to criticize, but you just have to go through the fact that they're not dead.
Yes, you do. Uh,
But like
I,
what I don't know what do you want instead? Like I don't want them to never be in danger or perceived dead. I mean
mhm.
the impact should be on how the other characters react to it
Yeah.
and how it affects things, but uh,
This certainly impacted me as a kid a lot
mm,
more than Megamorphs 3.
mm,
Like I said when we reviewed that, when Jake died in Megamorphs 3 and it was graphic and the back of his head got blown out, I was just like, "Oh, okay, yep, there it is." Whereas here it was very shocking to me. I was not expecting
mm.
it and I was like, "Oh my god, how could they did they must have gotten out, right? But like I don't know how or what, you know. Maybe
Yeah,
it's
I
just
didn't
that there
know
was no
how.
Drode this time.
That's yeah, well there's no time travel involved, so it's not
Yeah.
like there's not an easy way out except for, then later you just say, yeah, they got out. That's a pretty
Yeah.
easy way out, I guess.
Yeah, that is, I mean, basically that's
It's
it,
kind
but
of, kind of the easiest way out you can imagine, really.
yeah. I do
But you
think it's
do
funny.
wonder why aren't they
Yeah.
talking and helping and stuff. So yeah,
Yeah, no, you do have to wonder that, and it turns out they were in a lot of trouble this whole time, but
It almost feels like that could, like that's a whole other. You almost want to see that POV. Like that could be a very different book.
yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, that would absolutely be a very different book. Um, I
What's
do think
funny?
that it's funny. I like how Tobias, or I like how they portray Tobias reacting to the news here. Like Marco specifically calls out here where he's saying when he informs Rachel and Tobias about Jake and Cassie being dead, he says when I don't have the exact quote, but he says basically when Tobias has to deal with difficult emotional situations, he becomes more like a bird. Right, he just kind of becomes a bird, and so it's like even though Tobias is not, he's in morph right now. He's basically just a bird. I'm talking to a bird.
This really does remind me of you a lot.
Hmm. Yeah, I see where you're coming from with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna use that next time you turn into a bird.
Okay. Quack.
There's some funny stuff about women drivers in here,
Yep, yep. Marco's mom drives like a maniac.
which is funny because an established joke that Marco's a bad driver. So
Yeah,
that's fun.
yeah.
Runs
And
in
they
the
do
family.
establish that that is his mom. Like he is specifically like, yeah, that's not Visser One. My mom always did that.
And also on the subject of the car blowing up, in movies that's sort of a when they use a real gun, that's kind of a like it wouldn't really happen that way, right? Like they shoot a gas tank
Hmm.
and it explodes in a big fireball. But here it's a Dracon beam, so it's
Mm.
justified.
Yeah, it is justified.
So that's cool that they're allowed to do that.
Yeah, that's great.
Marco mentions that his mom always kept in good shape.
Hmm.
It's just interesting that he that's something he thinks about for her. Just
I
always aware
mean,
of what good shape she's in.
I don't. That doesn't seem that weird to me.
No, of course not. Well, you're going out on dates with your mom and shit, so I
Yeah,
get
I
it.
mean, I specifically take the other tack, and now that my parents are old, I'm always like, well, it's a good thing my dad always kept in good shape because,
Because
unfortunately,
I
my
still
mom
want to fuck
didn't.
him.
Right. Well, because like maybe I will admit, when I was a teenager, I don't know
Whoa,
that
no,
I
no,
would
no,
have
no, no.
cared that much.
Oh,
It's more of a
oh.
now that they're old, I'm like thinking back, like yeah, it's good or bad that they were or were not in good shape.
I got so scared when you were about to admit something. I
Well,
really didn't know where that was
I've
going to go.
admitted everything. I'm not holding anything back.
I I just don't know if you are or you aren't.
Well, I haven't
Okay.
talked about my cousins yet, but
Come on. That's not a big deal.
yeah, or my
Um
aunt, grandma.
okay. All right. Okay.
All
My
right,
unborn daughter. Okay.
so so yeah, so Marco, like I said,
Yeah.
Rachel and Tobias. So they have morphed into Hork-Bajir. And Marco's mom, eventually, she's been hiking up the trail. She meets them. Um, and so, and they are pretending to be real Hork-Bajir who are going to take her to the colony. And they're like, you changed to bird, human slow. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry, but I'm too sick to turn into a bird. I'll have to go on foot. And they're like, human slow. And she's like, yes, yes, I know. And but anyway, so they lead her up the nearby peak to where they say that the Hork-Bajir Valley is, which is what the climbing gear was for, I guess. Um, and because Visser Three has scouts out, he like hears about this interaction. So, as planned, he's like, "Oh, I shouldn't kill her right now. I should, wait because then she'll reveal the Hork-Bajir. I'll get them both, two birds with one stone." Um, so he morphs into a weird spider thing, which basically just looks like a giant spider, but with chameleon colors to make him hard to see, and takes off after Visser One on his own and is all like, "My guys will catch up with me. They'll get here. I'm too stupid and excitable for that." And meanwhile, Marco turns into a goat. I think it might. Is this goat time? Is it goat time?
Yes, and he says, "quote Time for the goat."
It is time for the goat. It's time for the goat, and he goes up the mountain while the Hork-Bajir are dragging Visser One up. So they're all converging on the peak of this mountain here.
Pretty exciting stuff. Pretty
It is
climactic
exciting.
shit.
Climactic stuff.
This is where this section of the book really goes full Mission Impossible. I love all them pretending to be Hork-Bajir and tricking her. Also, need to point out that the Hork-Bajir's name is Maska Fetan.
Yes.
Which is a pretty damn Star Warsy name.
Yeah, you're right. So I guess this is the Hork-Bajir that Rachel has. Except wasn't Rachel like Jerahami?
They must have got some other Horks, I guess, at some point.
Yeah, because I was wondering if maybe they just weren't using the proper name with Visser One. Like maybe they just told Visser One that's the name of Rachel's Hork.
Maybe Visser One just doesn't. She just assumes she doesn't actually know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have a feeling that Visser One should. I mean, okay, that's a point though. Jeremy and Ket Halpak are supposed to be dead, and she reads the casualty reports, so it would be dangerous to say that this is Jeremy. So I guess that makes sense. Because I was going to say, I think Visser One actually can tell Hork-Bajir apart. I think that it would be dangerous to make up a fake name, because she might be like, I know Maska Fatan. You know what I mean? She's not a racist like Visser Three.
Well, she might be. She's just, I mean, she is kind of by definition.
I suppose.
But, about different thing, a different way. Yeah. But that stuff is all fun. There's a lot of, I thought there were some good little moments in here. There's a line about that Marco's mom is the woman who taught me about laughter.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think we've heard before, that he made her laugh or vice versa. And that was like sort of his origin as a comedian.
Yeah, that's like that part of his personality comes from her.
Adorable.
There's also a bit in here that I like where Rachel, like Jake and Cassie being dead and everything falling apart, Rachel's just like, this is a disaster, Marco. You know what? I'm just going to push her off a cliff right now. You just leave so you don't have to watch. Fuck this.
So goddamn cold.
Yeah, good old Rachel.
It's
Tobias,
unbelievable.
This is the part where Tobias is like, shut up, Rachel. And everyone's like, whoa, Tobias never messes with Rachel.
Yeah, right. Yeah, even Tobias is like, because we need to draw a line somewhere. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
This is just how it's like being with Rachel.
It has been a while since I feel like since we've really gotten a good Visser 3 actions and morph scene.
Yeah. I want names. What's the name of this thing? Where's it from?
I know.
But it is true. We haven't, because I guess the last time, I don't think they described him morphing in the experiment. No, in the sickness he did do a morph. It just kind of whatever.
Yeah, he's done a couple, but they weren't focused on, or they lasted a very short time.
Yeah, like he just kind of, it was like, oh, here he is. It's the chase scene. Okay.
Unnamed chameleon-like crab creature, Seropedia calls it.
I guess they call it a crab. Yeah, I guess they describe it as kind of crab-like, but I think they say the phrase spider-like.
I just didn't they say it looks like a UFO, kind of the
Yeah,
body
it's
of
got
it.
like a flying saucer body with spindly legs coming out the sides, which I guess is pretty crab-like.
Time for the goat. Aren't crabs arachnids, or not all of them? Maybe
No, crabs are
they're
arthropods, but they're not.
muscos.
Yeah, they're a totally different branch on that. Whatever.
Something's crab-like in the ocean is an arachnid, though, right? Isn't there something?
Probably some kind of sea spider or something. I don't know.
But I wish
Maybe.
Cassie was here to help.
Yeah.
All right.
So okay.
Let's get
So
to the.
let's.
Oh, I did. There is also. I don't know if it's right in here, but I might as well bring it up because it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. There was a part in here. Maybe it was just a typo or something, but uh, there's a section where Marco refers to Visser One as he. He talks about like he was controlling my mom or something like that.
Oh, interesting. I don't recall that. Huh.
Oh no. He says the Visser would die. And again, maybe this is later. I don't know. And then he says his helpless host, my mother, as well.
Interesting.
Yeah, so
Huh.
I don't think that's a typo because his is pretty
Yeah.
different from her. So yeah, I thought that was weird. It's probably just an oversight. Like I'm sure they didn't even think about it when they were writing it, but
Yeah, I mean maybe that it because I always, like I said, I always think of Yerks as taking on the genders
yeah, they're
of their
hosts.
hosts. Yeah, but I mean maybe that is not what the writers of these books were thinking, or at least what this ghostwriter was
Right.
envisioning.
I could also see, and this is kind of speculation, but from Marco's point of view, he probably wants to separate the Yerk from
Mm.
his mother as much as possible, so it's easier to do that. Like he doesn't want to conflate them. He's like, no, that's not my mom. That's him. You
Yeah,
know.
no, that makes sense.
So I don't know, but
Interesting.
I thought that was interesting because
That
usually
is
they're
interesting
pretty
to me.
consistent because they definitely called Aftran her, right?
I'm pretty sure they did.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe I'll have to look.
But like, I don't know if they've ever asked a Yerk, like, by the way, what are your pronouns?
Yeah.
Hasn't come
What
up.
if Animorphs modern today?
Yeah, what if? All right.
All right. So okay. So the standoff is happening, right? He's Marco is up there, or the standoff's not quite happening yet. Marco is up there on the peak. He meets his mom up on the peak as a mountain goat, and there's a big reveal where we finally find out what the Chi have been doing. We don't see them, but Eric projects a hologram of a free Hork-Bajir Valley um, on, down below them. So it looks like it had been being covered up by a hologram, but it is itself a hologram.
Paint, you
But
mean? Hologram paint?
it, they painted all the
Surely
trees,
they must have painted those trees.
and then they projected holograms from within them. Yes.
Okay.
And but as he's revealing it, Marco can't help himself from making a jokey reference, and so he makes like a Prince of Egypt reference. Um, there's a suggestion that he kind of subconsciously wants to reveal himself here, and his mom is like, the Andalites don't say shit like that. And not only do Andalites not say shit like that, but like you that's familiar to me. I feel like I know you from somewhere. But before she can take that further, Visser Three shows up. There's a huge confrontation, right? Um, Visser Three's bug fighters all appear in the sky. And Visser One uncloaks her own Nova class Empire ship with all of her fighters. The Blade ship is there, so the sky is all of a sudden it's like filled with Yerk fighters. It turns out Visser One brought like an entire goddamn army. Um, so like a huge like dogfight breaks out. Visser Three starts to attack as a crab. Visser One pulls a Dracon on him.
When
The
did
ships from
Homer get
above.
involved?
Where is this? What did I say?
He
I
said there
don't
was a
remember.
dogfight.
Oh, okay, yeah. I thought, okay,
I
yeah,
don't
okay.
remember. I don't remember Jake morphing into Homer.
Right, yeah. He survived the explosion by becoming Homer. um, all right. So, but they start they start firing down on the colony. But since there's no actual like deep valley or colony, it just kind of like starts blowing up the mountain with them on it. So everything starts collapsing. The ground is splitting. They're all falling. Um, Eric is projecting all the Hork-Bajir dying in flames. It's very gruesome. It looks like Visser One is gonna make it, right? She like shot off some of Visser Three's legs, but she's been separated from him by the falling debris. So it looks like she's gonna survive. So Marco uh realizes he's gonna have to kill her, and so he tells her that he loves her, and then goes to knock her off the cliff. Um, his mom realizes who she is, or who he is. Visser One realizes who he is. And before Marco actually manages to knock her off the cliff, Jake shows up because he survived as a tiger, and he knocks her off the cliff instead, so that Marco does not have to do it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I mean, here we are. Here's the climax, right?
yeah. That's what I thought. Even in this moment, I thought, "Oh, Jake is going to be like, Marco, no, don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll save her." But
Mm.
he's like, "No, actually, well,
No.
I'm just going to do the killing, not you."
Hey, Jake is also, as Marco says earlier, addicted to the clear, bright line. He wants to take her out.
Yeah, I do like that clear, bright line
Hmm. Yeah,
imagery.
there's a reason it stuck with me.
It's a good metaphor.
Hmm.
It is good.
This is kind of the end of a Marco character arc, right?
Hmm.
Like you talked before about how like book 19 kind of feels like an end series book because it's such a turning point for Cassie's character. Um, and to me, this sort of does a similar thing because there's always been this question that effectively comes down to like, what are we gonna do about Marco's mom, right? Like, what is gonna happen with her? Um, Marco kind of is like, I think I need to kill her, but kind of is like, I think I want to save her. And in this book, he's just like, I want to save her, but I'm gonna concoct the plan to kill her. And then up on the mountaintop, you know, he sees the opportunity to kill her, and he could be like, I can't do it, but he doesn't say I can't do it. He goes for it, right? So like this this bit of the arc is sort of concluded, even though we're gonna find out that maybe she didn't really die. Whether or not she comes back, Marco, we know what Marco does here. Like we know how he reacts. He's going to kill her. Like the decision has been made. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
feels like similar to book 19, we've concluded that arc, and if you're going to do a Marco arc going forward, you kind of need to do one. You can't just like keep doing the whole will he won't he thing, right? You need to start being like, "Oh, well, how does he cope with being the guy who does it, or
Yeah.
something."
Yeah,
Kind of like
that's
Rachel in book 22 as well, actually.
it's a good yeah, it's a good observation that honestly didn't really hit me, I don't
Mhm.
think, until you said it.
Mhm.
I think I was more just too focused on the plot of the book and not I wasn't thinking as deeply about the character development that's there.
Mhm.
But yeah, it is there. And also maybe because I was just I guess I don't know, was it a question for you before this book of whether he would or wouldn't do it? Cuz I feel like for me it was always and maybe again, maybe I'm so caught up in my own like what would I do or what would I want to happen that I was always just thinking how are they going to save his mom? I'd never the idea that they would actually let her die wasn't one that I think I ever
Mhm.
really seriously entertained
Mhm.
until this book.
Yeah, I think that if you read it through, I think I did always have the question of what Marco,
They
like
do
that
it
Marco
is
is
there.
questioning, or I guess I should say Marco, it feels like Marco is questioning it throughout. I do think that when you're a kid reading the books, the assumption is somehow he's going to save her. But I think that within the actual text of the books, Marco is sitting there like, oh, okay, but like, I'm not like Jake with Tom. We're not talking about some random Yerk. We're talking about Visser One. And
Mm.
also, I've already lost my mom. I know she can die. Maybe Jake can lie to himself that he definitely can save Tom, but I can't lie to myself. I might not be able to save my mom, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I feel like at this point you have this sense of like Jake is certain he's going to save Tom. Marco is not certain he's going to save his mom. And as a kid reading it, you kind of feel like maybe they're going to do both somehow, but I don't know how.
And also, Tom hasn't really come up in like 20 books.
Yeah, and also Tom hasn't really come up in like 20 books. You're right.
It doesn't really matter what he's
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
Just just like don't talk on the phone too loud and it's fine.
Yeah. I do agree with you. This is kind of the first book where as a reader you're supposed to start entertaining the idea that like they might, even though she we're going to talk about it, she might not be dead, which we know what that means. You are starting to entertain that idea that she might die.
Yeah. Yeah. I would
Which
believe that death, unlike Jake and Cassie,
yeah.
if there was a
Yeah.
body.
Which yeah, so I'll just wrap it
Yeah.
up. We find out Jake and Cassie, they did almost die in that explosion, but turns out cockroaches are really good at surviving, so they like just barely made it back to consciousness and managed to demorph from their half-charred bodies in time, and it ended up okay, but they almost died. Um, Marco for the next couple days is like staying home from school, and he's all depressed and saying he's sick and everything, and Rachel shows up to inform him once again. It was Rachel who told him last time too, but Rachel shows up to once again inform him that his mom did the Joker thing. Right? There's no body. There's no Drake on Burns where her body was, that where the Yerks were covering that stuff up. No, it doesn't. We don't know if she's dead.
More
I
fuel for my Marco Rachel ship.
Yes, which is, and this is the end of the book. I do feel like there is some like Marco and Rachel like understanding in this, but like this
Kindred
bit where
spirits.
Rachel sits with Marco at the end is a lot more meaningful than the bit at the end of 15 where Rachel's like, "Hey Marco, I think maybe your mom didn't die after all." I think Rachel sees Marco being like, you know what, maybe I will kill my mom, and kind of sees herself in that. I think there's a bit of
Mm.
Rachel being like, oh, I can relate to maybe not liking the person that I'm becoming.
Yeah, maybe. I think it's a
Maybe.
strong maybe. Well, Rachel too has lost a parent in a way. Hmm? There's a parallel there, don't you think?
Because he moved across the country, I guess.
Yeah, her home was broken.
Mm. Yeah, I guess
They have that in common.
yeah. I guess I just don't take divorce very seriously as a child of divorce who wasn't traumatized by
Because,
it.
well, right, because you're not willing to acknowledge your trauma.
Right. Well, I just mean that if I don't have a problem with it, then nobody else should either.
Right. Jake there, by the
Maybe I'm just a
way,
bird. Yeah, tell me about Jake.
he almost got stuck as a half cockroach, half human morph, they said.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, I guess I sort of want to say it's kind of Kafka-esque,
Yeah, yeah, I
that
could
bit.
see that.
Yeah, in a way. In a way.
Yeah, I can't quite put my finger on it, but I get where you're coming from.
Sometimes certain things are Kafka-esque in a way that's very clear, and certain other things are more like when you've read a lot of Kafka, you just sort of have a sense of when things are esque
Yeah,
of him.
you're kind of a literary scholar in your own way.
Yes, like have you ever seen A Few Good Men?
I haven't.
Okay, let's try to come up with the reference. that you'll know that's more mainstream than
Unless
a
maybe I
few good
haven't forgot it.
men. It's when he says you can't handle the truth. Jack
I do.
Nicholson,
I
Tom
mean, I know that
Cruise.
scene.
Yeah, anyway,
I
I
never
thought
actually
that
saw the.
that's an example of a scene that to me is a bit Kafka-esque because it's a trial. And that's one of his stories.
Yeah,
Overall thoughts
that's,
on this book.
yeah, maybe.
On this book, The Reunion.
Mhm.
By the way, I sure hope a bunch of free Hork-Bajir didn't. The free Hork-Bajirs come in and help at the end of this too.
Yeah, they say that they did, although I don't know why they had to,
Yeah,
but I
it's
guess
a
they
shame
did.
if a lot of them got slaughtered and or some Yerks got in their heads and found out where their valley is or
Yeah,
anything like
they said
that.
5 of them died.
I'm sure it was fine. I'm sure they liked it. Anyway,
Yeah.
overall thoughts on this book. Certainly, this was a nice change of pace after last week's book, which was, for the most part, not very good.
Hmm.
It was nice to read this and be like, "Oh, this is good." I actually think I have come to like this book more hearing you talk about it in this episode
Hmm.
and reflecting more on what it means for Marco's character. I will say, although I overall liked the book when I read it, I was frustrated by the ending because, again, the last time we saw Marco's mom was 15 books ago. We quote unquote didn't know if she was alive or dead at that point.
Hmm.
And that's exactly where we end this
Yeah.
book. And that feels very unsatisfying as a reader that we have waited all this time and essentially now, okay, yes, the Marco development is important, but plot wise, this nothing is changed by the end of this book,
Yeah.
which is that's sort of annoying.
Yeah, I think that
I mean, I guess the
that didn't
relationship
bother me.
between they learned more about Visser One and what's going on with her, I guess, but
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think when I was a kid that did not bother me that much cuz like it's just kind of a return to the status quo, which is kind of expected with these episodic things. Where it's like, yeah, yeah, we
Yeah.
it would be kind of weird if his mom that was just resolved, right? Then
But
that would
it's
be
like
resolved.
it's the
But
status
yeah,
it's the exact
yeah,
same
yeah.
way the status quo was resolved.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just
as an adult,
again.
it feels a lot more like, "Oh, we're doing this again, huh?" Um
Yeah, it's like twice as too many for the maybe she's dead. Maybe she's
mhm.
not. It's too I don't know. Like at least if she's not dead, then just she can not be dead. Like you can say, "Oh, we saw we missed her. We saw her getting up. We saw her fly away." Like just tell me. Don't play this game with me. That's
Mhm.
I can see right through it. Like why are you pretending? It's not
Yeah.
fooling anybody.
Yeah.
But
And I do think that some of that also, like reflecting on what it means and how the character progresses. Like some of that is also just like because, when I was a kid I really really loved this book and I do think a lot of those moments are super important. But like if I had gone through this book and said Marco's really acting really out of character at this point because he never acts ruthless again for the rest of the series, and he hasn't really been that ruthless before. As opposed to saying this is a turning point because I know going forward it's a turning point, then you probably
mm,
would have been like, oh well, that's bullshit. I hate this book. So like there is the fact that I have read the series does matter in terms of that, and
mhm.
so it's understandable that that doesn't necessarily come through as a first time reader. Um,
Yeah, I think that's true of a lot of things in this series that
yeah.
because those details are doled out so sparingly
Hmm.
throughout the books for the most part. There's a big picture that forms that you don't necessarily get from one book, but you might piece together from 8 of them.
Yeah. I will say as a kid, I think I did already say this, but I really, really loved this book. This was an all-timer as a kid.
Interesting.
Um, Rereading it now, I think it's I don't like it as much as I did. I still think it's pretty good. Um, but there's a lot more like I don't know. It just at the beginning there's a lot of just like very rushed, like as we were saying, like moving from like set piece to set piece. Oh, they're on the railing. Oh, they're in the building. Oh, they're here, they're here, they're here. And then and then we go into the plan, and it's the whole we just got to watch it unfold, but we don't know what's going to happen. And
Yeah.
then when you get to the end, the plan, it turns out, is very simple, so it doesn't feel like, you're not sitting there like, oh my god, I can't believe they pulled it off. It's like, no, they just used the chi to make a fake valley and put them in the same place. That was it.
Right.
Um,
It
y-
feels
you know,
aimless because you're just kind of like you're along for a
yeah,
ride, but it's not that exciting the way they're describing the ride. So it's
yeah, and it all happens over such a short period of time. It feels like, I don't know,
just tell us. Just let us see
it's
the scene where they
rushed.
figure it out. Like
Yeah.
why make it a mystery? It's not that there's not a twist or anything at the
Yeah,
end.
or like there's too many scenes where just stuff is happening. The chapters where it does slow down for a bit and Marco is reflecting, I think are really, really good. And
Yeah.
I do like a lot of the moments near the end, especially with between Marco and his mom. I love all the times Visser one is actually being a clever and competent antagonist. Um,
Yeah.
I think all that's good, but it's not the home run that it was when I was a little kid, which, I guess part of that was just like really fleshing out like Marco, right? Beyond just being the Joker, like this is the Joker. No, the jokey character. Now he's become the Joker. Yeah, this is like the Marco gets serious, but
I like it. I often the Animorphs books kind of we've said feel like I don't know, sometimes akin to a rough draft or like, man, if there was just another pass at this
hmm
idea where you could clean it up or make it aim it more towards adults, you could really have something great here. And I think this book is one that wouldn't require much. I
hmm
think it's pretty close to greatness and you can see that in it.
hmm
So, yeah,
yeah,
there it
I'll
is.
feel that.
Some of my favorite moments from this book, I have to say, involve all of Marco's pop culture references.
Oh wow, maybe you could read out a list of those for us.
I'd love to. Well, instead of getting out of bed and heading downstairs for a bowl of honeycomb, Mark says.
Yeah, yeah,
Honeycomb,
yeah.
yeah, it's not small.
No, no, no.
Uh, he wonders whether he dropped enough hints at dinner about which Sega disc he wanted for his birthday.
hmm
Marco has graduated to a Sega. I don't know if he's mentioned Sega before. We've talked about Doom and Nintendo, but he wanted a Sega disc, as all the kids refer to them. He references this has come up before. I still don't know how to say it. A Saucony?
Saucony's
Saucony?
nuts.
Fuck you. A Saucony cross trainer. So, okay, what a specific weird brand of shoe. I don't know. I don't. It's weird. Whatever. He has a South Park cap. At one point, he mentions having an Adam Sandler idiot grin. I have to imagine like Billy Madison kind of thing. I don't know. It's kind of funny.
I'm
They
sure.
were UPS packages. A woman drops a section of her Wall Street Journal in the elevator. Going in the vents is like the tornado scene from The Wizard of Oz. Can't just say a tornado. It's got to be that tornado. Uh, this one is
Couldn't it,
good.
it could have been from wasn't there, didn't that like tornado movie come out in the
Twi-
90s?
yes, it's called Twister.
Twister. Yeah, it could have been from
Uh,
Twister.
yeah, that was probably 97 or maybe earlier. It was definitely before this book. Yeah, it was out. Yeah, they could have gone Twister. Would have been a good ref. By the way, Twisters is coming out this year. The sequel to Twister.
Oh shit.
That is true. That is true.
That's good.
Um, I like this one. Getting trapped in the vent like a big chunk of Snickers Blizzard in a straw. I don't know if it was in the vent. It was somewhere. It was good though.
Yeah.
Mr. Grant says, "Could you get me a cup of coffee from the Starbucks on the corner?" It's actually
Well, Marco
Marco.
says that, but
Whatever. Well, Mr. Grant says it, kind of in a way. Um, He considers whether he'd rather spend his life working at McDonald's or Burger King after getting expelled from school. He says, I'm an adventurer, much like Daniel Boone, Magellan, Marco Polo. Marco, that's a connection.
Yeah.
Marco's dad watches ESPN. He does an evil Knievel into acts. He says some things like climbing the Washington Monument, an Olympic ski jump. That's when they're sliding down the banister. It's like being strapped face down underneath someone's Porsche, as I like to say. Like a stainless steel jacuzzi. Remember jacuzzi? Registered trademark.
Yep.
A teacher about to tell a folksy story about the young Abe Lincoln. I think he says his mom. That's how his mom looks. Someone's out in the yard playing hacky sack. Now, I just want to say hacky sack, I looked this up, is no longer a registered trademark. However, in this book, it was capitalized. So
okay.
At one point, hacky sack was a name brand. This is an Oprah. I don't remember what that refers to. Another kind of an edge case here, the darkened Ferris wheel. I don't really know if this counts. Ferris wheel is like, it's a name. It's named after a person who invented it, I think. It's
sure.
capitalized technically. Okay. So I don't know.
I don't actually know.
I think I looked it up, but I forget. Household names like generals from World War II or the Civil War, Patton and Eisenhower, Ulysses Grant and Robert E. Lee. Some of my favorites in there. I'll let you decide which ones. His mom is driving a rented Audi, which gets a bunch of references. And she also bullies her way past a family in a Chrysler Town and Country. She is Visser 1 pretending to be fascinated by the wares displayed in the window of the Ace Hardware. They reference the human business called Dunkin' Donuts. Not anymore, it's not. She disembarks at JCPenney. Lots of JCPenney disembarking talk. A couple references to dumpsters out back.
I have written 5 dumpsters in 5 sentences.
Just when you think like that must be over at this point in the series, no, this isn't even Kay Applegate. This is this must be the editor who's making sure those dumpsters are capitalized.
Yeah,
which are filled with boxes from the Gap and Old Navy. There's tugging fitfully at some kids' size Michael Jordan jerseys. A reference to one heck of a shootout at the OK Corral. In the car is a long-forgotten open roll of peppermint lifesavers. Wall-to-wall crunchies working out their Timberlands. What is this phrase? I don't remember the context of this one.
They're taking her on like a rough trail just when they're in the national park.
Oh, the crunchies are like people hikers.
Yeah.
Okay. Like someone, what are crunchies? Canine crunchies? All right. Marco gets a dig in at Alanis Morissette when he says, "See, that's ironic, Alanis." Pretty stupid. Visser 3 is driving an SUV. I couldn't remember. Does that count as SUV generic?
I thought that was generic, but I don't.
Yeah,
I'm not
I think
a car
it
guy.
is, but I still wrote it down. I guess it's like a sedan. I don't know. I might have been Tinkerbell floating upward on magic dust. No problemo, Xena. Gets a Xena in there once.
Oh, we know about Xena now.
We do. Patreons know about the Xena. Not to get all Prince of Egypt on you. That's the line that gives it away, which Zeropedia notes also sets this book firmly in a specific year, 1999, 1998. I don't know. It has to be after Prince of Egypt came out.
Yeah, so Prince of Egypt came out, I have it written, the Zeropedia note, in December of 1998. So this series, and it says this series is not set, or this book is not set in winter, which makes sense. They get up onto a peak. So this must be taking place in 1999. Book came out in May 1999. That's about the earliest it could be. So this book is fairly like concurrent with its publishing.
So then you got to ask, is that true of all the books up until this point? Or like, is it supposed to be true of them?
Don't know.
Interesting. Don't know how old these kids are. All I know is The Matrix is in theaters. Probably. Probably some late runs. Came out in March. Anyway, he could have just been referencing like, Moses. Right? Just like from the Bible. Like, why did it have to be? Like he was the. Was he?
Well, he specifically says not to get all Prince of Egypt on you like that.
Sure. Like, yeah, you
Who's
might
gonna
say that.
say who was the Prince of Egypt
Not
during
to get
Moses'
all
time?
son of God on you. You know what I mean?
What was his name?
Abafmir.
Okay.
Was Moses not the Prince of Egypt in that movie? I don't remember. Anyway.
Aren't you okay? Fine.
It doesn't matter. I don't know if maybe is he like technically don't they take him in like he's an adopted kid, so like technically he's like a brother, so he's like technically a prince of Egypt. I think he's the Prince of Egypt. Well, we're gonna have to add this to the Patreon. And finally, Marco stares at soap operas and Jerry Springer and old movies.
All right. I actually have one that.
Oh, Jesus, do you?
That you
we got
missed, and
plenty
I
of time
understand
for it, so
why you missed it.
Go ahead.
So, actually, I know I have two.
Oh my god.
So, when Visser 1 is around the mall area, around the Dunkin' Donuts and the Ace Hardware, they go by a Fred's Car Wash, which I was 90% sure this was just some guy's name. When I Googled it, there is a chain of car washes called Fred's Car Wash that has locations across the country.
I also Googled this, and it looked to me like there just happened to be car washes. I think this is a coincidence. I do not think they were referencing a specific Fred's Car Wash.
All right, maybe.
Well, we're gonna have to ask Elise Hutton or whatever her name is, or K.A. Applegate. Maybe K.A. will know next time we get her on the pod.
Yeah,
and
maybe
what's the other one?
And the other one is when Marco's up on top of the peak, he thinks he's like, oh, here I am up here, king of the world. Does that count? Feels like it might count.
I don't know. Does he say I'm a king of the world?
He doesn't say I'm. But he's kind of, he's just like, yeah.
King of the world. I thought I remembered like king of the mountain or something. Does he say king of the world?
I think he says king of the world.
Well, we'll let the listeners decide that one.
Yeah. I guess I'm looking it up. I guess Moses was adopted to
Thank you. See, I remembered. He's the Prince of freaking Egypt.
Okay.
And Marco spends a lot of time around Jake and Rachel, and he picks up on some of that, Jew shit. Is that okay to say?
You can say whatever you want.
But I'd have to, if I don't clarify that I'm Jewish, people could take it the wrong way.
They could take it the wrong way, but it's your right.
If you'd like to write into us about what I can and cannot say or anything else related to the world of Animorphs, you can do so, theyerkyboys@gmail.com. You got to listen to our Patreon this week. You have to, because we're talking about grass. And if your name starts with an S and ends in a Teven, then I don't know what the fuck you're doing if you don't fucking pay us $5 and listen to that one.
I like how we started the Patreon to get one single guy, and now we're going. If you write in to our yerkyboys@gmail.com, we will devote an entire episode to trying to convince you specifically to sign up for our Patreon.
Yep, that's just how desperate we are. Patreon.com/theyerkyboys. Oh, it's so good over there. And whatever, that's it. That's enough. Anything else you need to add?
I think that's enough. I think we're good.
We're done.
Can I
go
see us out? Thanks everyone for listening. Tune in next time when we'll be talking about book 31, The Conspiracy, in which Jake turns into a bird on the Yerky Boys.
That's not even a specific type of bird.